within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say? Cardiac Tigers, you know. I know you're upset about your Greyhounds, but I think the better team won last night.
I don't even know if that's true, but sure.
That's 100% true.
You have no idea if that's true or not. Hi. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn, it's Griffin. Let's try to think about nice things. When was the last nice thing? It didn't come with like a caveat, you know what I mean?
Towson lacrosse.
Yeah, that's not.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I would do if I were Towson lacrosse. I would disagree.
Well,
it
was a tough weather. It was
yeah,
tough.
the weather was tough.
Had to bring your own energy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, something
and
like
they
that.
did.
Yeah. Well.
It's just one game of 162.
Yeah,
right? They'll get it back.
Right. That's a good point. Thank you, Griffin.
Back.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that reminder. It is just one game, isn't it? Well, hey, at least the umpiring was on point.
I mean, that was the worst
Oh,
display of.
Oh, F. I said this as I was having one of my nightly back and forths with our friend Steve Johnson. Like, if it's not in the rule book that the umpire has to make a call, then it needs to go in the rule book. And I say that because, with all due respect, while even the argument would be even if he makes that call, Tyler O'Neill is hung up and he's effed, right? Like, it's just. Let's just pretend the umpires get everything right in that situation.
Well, the throw was so bad he might have been able to get
but
back,
that's
honestly,
the point.
But yeah.
It's don't read ahead.
Okay.
All right. We can say Tyler O'Neill's going to be screwed no matter what because it's just terrible bad luck. Line drive, it happens all the time, right? How many times last night were there line drives that just happened to be hit somewhere? And it's just a bummer. Or, the thing that happened with Jorge Mateo at the plate. Sometimes that's baseball. There's a line drive, really good catch, plays made. What are you going to do? But the argument, of course, is that, like, hey, the third base umpire needs to let Tyler O'Neill know I called a catch so that when Gurriel throws it into the press box, Tyler O'Neill can say, now I have the opportunity to scamper back to second base. I don't know how that's not in the rule book. If the umpire doesn't inform you that it's an out, then I don't know if you say plays. I don't know what you do. I don't know what the recourse is. Because it's a very specific circumstance where the runner has no choice but to try to get to the next base of the ball's like it's bad luck, but bad luck happens in baseball, but it's bad luck with the conspiracy of horrendous umpiring. And there has to be a penalty for that. In another world, Gurriel might just recognize Tyler O'Neill is basically on third base and throws it into second base. I still think that Cedric Mullins would have gotten there. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It might very well be that
Mullins didn't tag until he saw the throw was.
Yeah, it might very well be that Gurriel gets double play without a single run scoring. But that's not what occurred. in a way, I think the Orioles actually got good luck because of it.
They got a run out of it, yeah.
Right. Instead of maybe what it should have been, which again is Gurriel did catch the ball. There's no debate about that. He caught the ball. It's an out. And so if Gurriel just looks up, sees the runner on second is standing at third and throws it into second base, they probably get a quick double play and the inning's over. There's got to be some recourse. It has to be the umpire has to do their job to allow Tyler O'Neill the opportunity to know the ball was caught. It cannot be that it's on the player to be screaming at the umpire. What did you call there? I'm playing in a Major League Baseball game and need to know what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. Now, does any of that absolve the fact that, for once again, the bats were meh? Not really. Does any of it absolve the fact that Charlie Morton was meh to not good?
Best start yet.
Yeah. As another one. We might have to give Steve a 5 minutes on every show or something like that because I got to let him work it out. Steve's very as you would imagine, he's very defensive of pitchers, right? And he's like, see, this is pitching. Even when you don't have your stuff, you battle and you give your team a chance. And to some extent, yes, of course, that's true. Charlie Morton wasn't good last night, and yet he didn't. It wasn't a disaster. It wasn't an unmitigated disaster. If it weren't for one pitch to Naylor, perhaps he really would have given the Orioles a chance to win. But still, he gave them a reasonable chance. As we know, they had a couple of opportunities. The double play, the Jorge Mateo thing, they still had chances, despite the fact that Charlie Morton wasn't good. And we do have to be clear about that. We can't move the goalposts to make it a good start. It wasn't good. But he does deserve credit, and I understand exactly what Steve's saying. He deserves credit for the fact that when he wasn't good, he still pitched. But it's mitigated. There's an amount of credit, but it's not overwhelming.
Brought his season ERA down a whole
It's got that going for him, which is something.
Down to 8.78.
And the good news is the Orioles now get to throw
Big Dino.
No one for a while.
Oh, they're just gonna try the no pitcher strat.
Ironically, as I pointed out last night, with an off day on Thursday and another off day on Monday, they don't actually need a fifth starter for some time. They don't need a fifth starter until the following Saturday, the 19th. Really weird how it works out. Somebody would say, well, that smells like it could be 10 days. I am not in any world suggesting that Zach Eflin could be the starter again in 10 days. I think that's unreasonable. But I don't think they're going to put a starter on the roster for right now. I think they'll put another arm in the bullpen. And whether they wait the full... I guess the question would be, why wouldn't you wait the full 10 days? It gives you a couple of options. One, it gives you the option to see how Kyle Gibson looks in his Norfolk start and to see if he'd be ready to make that start. And it seems aggressive, but Kyle Gibson's a major league pitcher. And unless you're of the belief that, Brandon Young is ready, and maybe they are, but unless you're of that belief, then it seems like that would be the play. Would be wait it out to the 19th, see if Kyle Gibson can make the start. Hope nothing else goes wrong between now and then. There's no getting around it. It's disastrous. Will Carroll, our friend from Under the Knife, is going to join us a little bit later on. We'll let him tell us more about what a lat strain means for Zach Eflin and for the timeline and, whether we should just go ahead and jump. I don't really know what to say. It is both things can be true. It can both be that this is an extraordinary amount of bad luck. With respect to the people that are well, it's all these pitchers. The Bradish thing they knew about. This is not new with Bradish. They can make their plans around knowing that Bradish wasn't going to be there to start the season. But to lose your top 2 starters, yes, is a little bit beyond expected. But there was always going to be a serious drop-off from the top 2 to the next group. And even when you lost 1, you were in trouble. And I think it's reasonable to assume you're going to lose 1. That's the way the baseball works. At this point, it might be reasonable to assume you're going to lose your top 2. This is the position you put yourself in. It'll marry into the Corbin Burnes conversation, who's about to join us. You can't absolve the Orioles, even though you acknowledge that there's a significant amount of bad luck involved. It's a both things are true situation. It's incredible bad luck to lose your top 2 starters. On top of, again, already having lost one of your other starters. It's incredible bad luck. And one of your backup plans in Albert Suarez. You want to say this team, the group coming into the season, they've lost 3 of their top 6 starting pitcher options. It really is unbelievable bad luck. 4 of their top 7, if you think Trevor Rogers was in the conversation. I don't know how we felt about that, but he would have been, given everything that's going on. He certainly would have been. That is, it is. There's no doubt. But the quality of your next options is still a part of the problem. To then turn to 3 guys that are 5s, 3 guys that aren't really qualified, have to be in the rotation major league pitchers. And I know someone would be offended by the way that I'm describing that. For a good team. Guys that do not have to be in the rotation for a good team. That's on you. That part was your choice. To not go out and say, we want our number 3 to be a viable number 2. That's how you end up in this spot. And it's an unmitigated disaster. Yeah, Corbin Burnes is we're gonna be talking to him in a couple minutes. Let me tell the truth for a second. Corbin Burnes joined. I chatted with Corbin Burnes at about 5:35 yesterday. It's when he needed to do it. Apparently, immediately after he chatted with us, he went and talked to the Baltimore reporters that were assembled in Phoenix. First of all, really appreciate him in hindsight, if we had just flipped it on and been live, we would have talked to Corbin Burnes before everybody else. I don't know why he wanted to do that. He told me that he appreciated the conversation that we had last year. So I appreciate him doing that. And we do address, the things that you would expect us to address. That absolutely comes up. But after he talked to the Baltimore reporters and the national reporters who were there, we then apparently saw this tweet from Rock Kabatko that suggested that he had the Orioles' final offer. Now, as you're going to hear when Corbin Burnes joins us in a minute, Corbin Burnes is going to tell you the Orioles never put it in writing. That's not me saying that. That's Corbin Burnes saying that. So, a little bit, when Rock says the Orioles' final offer to Corbin Burnes was 4 years, $180 million, maybe, but again, for what it's worth, Corbin Burnes is about to tell you there was never anything in writing that he could have signed. Now, I would, given the timing of this, given that we're airing this after this tweet came out, I would love to have been able to have followed up on this particular tweet with Corbin Burnes. Unfortunately, this is why I'm telling you this. We had this conversation before we saw this tweet. So we talked about how it came about, but I wasn't able to ask about that specifically because we did not have that information at the time. So because I just did all that lead-in, Griffin, why don't we go ahead and do this? This was the 15 minutes that I spent chatting with Corbin Burnes yesterday. Not just about this. We talked about other things. But we'll react to it afterwards and how it maybe ties into the situation the Orioles are in right here on Glenn Clark Radio. Well, of course, with the Orioles out in Arizona this week, I'm sure it's been great for the guys to catch up with an old friend. We don't like saying former Baltimore Oriole. That part still stings, but we know it's meaningful for his family. Now Arizona Diamondbacks ace Corbin Burnes back with us here on GCR this morning. Corbin, it's Glenn back in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Corbin, I know I got to ask how it's going. I know with the Twins, it's got to be special for you. Is there ever a moment when you're in the middle of changing a diaper where you think to yourself, man, maybe it wouldn't have been the end of the world if I would have stayed on the East Coast?
No, it's been good. Yeah, it's one of those things that you sign over here, it looks good, and then just kind of as you're in it, it feels good. Like you say, from the family aspect of it, being at home. Sleeping in my bed every year, getting to wake up, change your kids' diapers like you were saying, play with them all morning, head to the field, and just know that they're comfortable. Know that they're in their house, they're what they're used to, they're in their routine. It just makes it that much easier, and definitely glad to be here.
Corbin, is it fair to say I didn't ever got the sense that this was like I don't want to be in Baltimore? That is it fair to say that was always going to be something that was going to weigh out for you, just knowing what that means to you, to your family, to have that opportunity to be at home?
Yeah, no, I love my time in Baltimore for sure.
Yeah.
It's a great group of guys. We had a great year. A lot of fun over there, and like we saw, they're still a really good baseball team, and will be for years to come. But for us, just having kind of the stage of life that we're in with the 3 young kids, this is one of those things where if the opportunity presented itself, and it was a fair offer, it was kind of one of those things that was going to be tough to pass up. So when it came up and going through the free agent process, when we heard that these guys were going to be pretty heavily involved, it's one of those things that you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel on something that we thought was the best for us.
Yeah.
Not to say that being in Baltimore wasn't going to be good for us, because like I said, I had such a good time last year, but this is kind of one of those offers that was just too good to pass kind of thing.
I have to admit it's conflicting, man. It hurts me because we liked you so much and we wanted you here, but as a dad, I completely get it, man. I can't imagine how difficult it is, like dealing with that stuff. And I know it's nice to play baseball and it's nice to make money and all those things, but I know that matters. And so I'm happy for you that you and your family are able to have that. Was there anyone here that, like, I'm sure everybody understood, but was there anyone that had the most fun with it, that you got, like, the best text from, like, I actually hate you, I'll never be okay with this? Did anybody give you any, like, sort of a particularly good ribbing after you made the decision?
No, not even, no one gave me a hard time. I heard from a lot of the guys, obviously became good friends with a lot of them over there, and still keep in touch with them, even to this point, even talking to a bunch of them yesterday. But I think Grayson was probably the one I think was the happiest to get me out of there, for him to kind of take over as that guy. But it was all just jokes, and he's a great guy, and obviously working his way back from the IL. But yeah, just a good group over there that be friends with a lot of those guys for a long time.
What is it like now? Like you end up in Arizona. I know it's a place. This is we're jealous, right? There's young talent in Corbin Burnes. That was the thing that we had here in Baltimore a year ago that we liked so much. Is there a parallel between the two organizations? Do you sort of find yourself saying, was that part of it for you that you looked and said, hey, this is kind of a similar spot, and I like this combination?
Yeah, for sure. When I was going into it, signing a deal, I wasn't going to sign it with a team that was maybe only going to be competitive for another year or two. I was looking at it I've got to sign a long-term deal, and the entirety of that deal, I want it to be competitive. So obviously the group you got to look towards got to be a young group like what we had in Baltimore. And this is a group that graduated a lot of guys off of their prospect list into the big leagues. Have had young guys with a lot of success in the big leagues, as kind of mirrored what Baltimore had. So this is something that was a very, very similar situation as far as the competitiveness on the baseball edge, for sure.
Corbin Burnes is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Corbin, I think one of the things that was interesting to me about what you were going through, I imagine you're aware there's a reputation around baseball that like Scott Boras tells his clients what they're going to do. And it's a topic that's come up a lot in Baltimore because, there's a lot of Scott Boras guys on this team and guys that, you're hoping that maybe you could get an extension done with. And everybody says, nah, Scott Boras doesn't do that. But it was interesting watching with you, and this was what you wanted to do. Can you speak to, how true it is when someone says, well, the clients don't have to say whatever Scott Boras says they're going to do, that's what they're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think my first conversation that I had with Scott going into free agency was, hey, what are your wishes? What do you want this free agency to look like? What are the teams that you're looking at, kind of thing? And he was very upfront about, like, hey, you drive this process. He works for me. Everyone in that office works for me, and it's about going out. He's the negotiator. He knows the market, and he goes out and gets the best deal. And if I like it, great, I sign it. If not, if it's not a team I want to be with, it's nope. Let's keep looking. So throughout the entire process, he was very open with me. Spoke with him, gosh, probably every day, sometimes twice a day about it. Just talking through things, and him being in this game for so long, he's got a lot of relationships that other agents and people don't have. And so just when he talks to someone that they know he's serious, they know the kind of talent he's bringing in, and then it's my job to kind of look at it as this spot we want to be. What's the number for this spot we're looking at, that kind of thing. So this was very much a process that was driven by me. He had brought some offers to me very early in the offseason that we could have got a done deal with very quick. That was a really good deal. But I said, nope, we're going to wait. So I think he gets a lot of reputation of telling guys to wait. And for me, that was definitely not true.
Corbin,
we had some early offers that could have done quick, and we just waited it out.
When you say done quick, like did you leave money on the table in this, like trying to make it sure that it was right for your family? Does it go that far that if it means you have to take less money, that he says, okay, I understand, that's the way that it works, that's what you want to do, we're going to work with you?
I believe there was one other offer that would have been bigger.
Yeah.
But with tax implications and obviously living at home, this was actually, I think, just dollars wise, the best offer that I could have gotten. There was, like I said, there was one other offer that dollars wise was more, but with the tax difference was not even close.
It sounds like what you're saying though is like if one of these young guys in Baltimore really wanted to be in Baltimore for a long time, that Scott Boras wouldn't get in the way of that. It sounds like, I know you can't speak to it, you're not Scott Boras, but it sounds like your experience would suggest that that's not going to, that if that's their priority, you think that he would be willing to do that.
Yeah, if a guy voices that he really wants to be there, the team echoes that, then yeah, 100% Scott will get a deal done and extend a guy if the deal's right. The other piece of it is Scott is really good at knowing that what a guy's market value is when he gets to free agent market, what his value is with the amount of service time he has. So he's very good at enlightening young players and guys about the market, what it could look like in a year, what it could look like in 2 years, instead of just jumping on something that seems good up front. So I think that's part of the reason why he gets the reputation of not extending guys. But I mean, he's signed many guys to extensions over the years, as long as it's something that is good for both the team and the player.
All right, this is my last one on this topic, I promise. I'm sure you're rolling your eyes about it.
No, you're good.
I was actually, like, in a way, some of the reports about how much the Orioles pushed to bring you back were encouraging to me because, as I'm sure you became aware in your short time here, there's a lot of scarring in this city about money that hasn't been spent over the years. Without giving out whatever details you don't want to give out, is there reason to be encouraged for people in Baltimore about the lengths that the Orioles went to try to get you back and what that might mean for their willingness to spend moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely conversations. There was, I never received anything in writing, but there was a lot of numbers thrown back and forth between Baltimore and Scott. They did have sincere interest of bringing me back. I just don't think we matched up necessarily on the amount of years that I think that was going to take to get it done. But as far as the money per year, they were definitely right there, and they wanted me back. That was for sure. So I think it was more just a year's thing that didn't quite line up. And then also once this Diamondbacks deal came across the table, it was going to be pretty tough to pass up.
Completely understand. Thank you for indulging me, Corbin. I really appreciate it. Corbin, you mentioned Grayson a minute ago. I wonder, being around him that last year, and obviously we're hoping it's not going to be too long before he's back, how ready did you sense that he was to be that guy at the top of a rotation and the guy that's out there for game one of a playoff series, all the things that we've grown accustomed to you doing?
Yeah, I think he's very close. Just from a lot of the conversations that I had with guys early on in the season, just kind of about who he was, maturity level, just pitching level, is that he grew a lot over the year last year, learned a lot, kind of knew what it took for him to kind of get in the big leagues, stay in the big leagues, succeed in the big leagues, what it took to lead a pitching staff. So I definitely think he showed a lot of growth and maturity over the year. That is putting him well onto the that path of being able to do that. Now, obviously, working back from an injury, it's going to be a little bit tougher to get built up and kind of establish that mid-season. But he's definitely a guy that he keeps putting in the work. He can definitely be that guy.
What was your experience like with Brandon Hyde? He's such a, I don't know why. I think every manager is like this, right? Like, I feel like this is the way it goes. Like, guys are polarizing. I like Brandon Hyde. I've said it a million times. I think he's really good with us, but that's that doesn't affect you guys on the field. I understand that. What was your experience like with him, and how he fit with that group that you walked into when you showed up?
Yeah, Brandon was awesome. When I came in right away, some of the first conversations we had was about how excited he was about the team, about the group that was there. Obviously, he was there when Baltimore was not real good to drafting those guys and bringing them up to being a really good team. So he knew the ins and outs of a lot of the guys, which is good, which is what you needed with a manager. And he wasn't afraid to go and back a guy up, whether it was going after an umpire, going after another team.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely had everyone's back, and that's another quality that you want in a manager. You want a guy that, if you're going to go out there and do something, he's right there, top step or right behind you, supporting you. So he was really good at that, and just in general was a good guy and good baseball mind.
We got to see some of that from you too, which we liked a lot. That was pretty cool. That was one of our favorite parts of the year last year. We were seeing fired up Corbin Burnes. Corbin, I know it's early on in the season. I'm sure you're the type that says, "Hey, I would like for the first two starts to have been no hitters," right? But like, are you the type that immediately dismisses it and says, "Hey, it's two starts"? Or are you more like the obsessive, like, "No, that's not good enough. I don't give myself a pass just because it's early on in the year. I expect to be better than that."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always working to be the best that I can. Not only for me, but just for the team of having success early on. You want to get off to a good start. I've in my career, I've had bad starts. I've had good starts. I've done everything in between. So for me, it doesn't.
A lot of good ones, man. I appreciate you saying that, dude. But like, I'm sure there's some pitcher right now that's hearing you say that, be like, "Oh, Corbin Burnes thinks he's had bad starts."
Nah, so it's just kind of one of those things that I want to be at the top of my game at every outing. So for me, it's always constantly working, but it's never the panic. You've put in the work to get to this level. You can get back to that level very easily just with the right work and with the right video. One cue gets it back to where it wants to be. So I had a really good spring training, and so obviously it's frustrating to come out and have the 7 walks is kind of more than anything. That's the frustrating piece. These first 2 starts, other than that, hasn't been too bad. But for me, it's always trying to get better, always trying to improve. If not, the next guy behind you is going to come up and pass you. So for me, I want to stay at the top of my game and continue to improve and continue to work on my craft. And along the way, you're going to have some of these blips that you just have to take it in stride and use it to get better.
All right. I happen to have the joy of living and working in Arizona for 2 years in my 20s. I spent a lot of time at Filiberto's and at In-N-Out and at Jack. Do I assume that given who you are and your physical condition that you don't get to indulge quite as much? Or what like, do you maybe sneak over to Jack in Box 2 every now and then when you're out in Arizona?
It's definitely been a while since I've been to Filiberto's, but that's definitely definitely a good spot for sure.
Oh.
But I mean the restaurant scene out here is really good too. I mean, haven't been out here all off season, and for many years. There's a lot of spots that we tend to get drawn toward, but yeah, especially especially after a bad outing the other day. Sometimes you need to celebrate those or something to make you feel good.
Did you go? I don't even know if did you go to like the Waste Management Open? Did you get to check that out? I know a lot of the guys try to get out while they're out there.
Yep. Oh yeah, I play in it just about every year. So
yeah.
It's always
okay.
one of the most fun weeks of the off season.
I got to do it once and I missed badly, like badly. And it was cool though, because like there was enough of a crowd there that I got booed. It was the Pro-Am thing that they do. How are you? Like, do you hit it every time, or have you been able to experience the crowd losing their mind and booing you in those moments?
So I think I've played in it 5 years, and I think I've hit the green twice on 17. So I've definitely gotten booed. I've definitely gotten booed more than I've been cheered. But
it's wild.
Yeah, the 1 year I did hit the green, I birdied it. So that was you get a pretty good roar from the crowd for a birdie, cool. But they definitely like to boo you whenever you miss the green.
Oh, dude, imagine if you aced it. Imagine what that feeling. You've done a lot of things in baseball, but I don't know how much better it could get than if you ace it. And then I know we got to let you. I know we got to let you go, but it meant a lot to me, your commitment when you were only here for a year, but you wanted to be involved in the community. And you did the event Uncork for a Cause in the Ronald McDonald House. Could you just remind people why the Ronald McDonald House?
Me and my wife's goal when we got into the big leagues and was able to make an impact was to make sure we were giving back to the community that we're in. Didn't matter if we were there for 10 years, 2 months, 1 year. We wanted to give back to the community. Her being from a big family with a lot of kids and us having 3 kids already and wanting to have more, kids were a big part of our life and why we wanted to give back. So just thinking of, those families that are having to stay in the Ronald McDonald House with their kids going through major surgeries or, recovery. It was kind of one of those things that for us, it felt like it hit home because, we if anything happened to our kids, we want to know that they're having the best care and having that support. So we wanted to do that to provide for the families staying at the Ronald McDonald House. And we have our event actually coming up at the end of May here in Arizona. We're with the Ronald McDonald House again. So it's kind of one of those things that we will do every year I'm in baseball and do what we can to continue to give back to the community.
Good on you, and that's an amazing thing. Corbin Burnes, I mean it. It's tough. It pains me, but I am so happy for you and your family. We as you would imagine, we're not rooting for your team this week, but we will always root for you and appreciate the time you spent in Baltimore. Thanks for hopping on with us, dude. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. No, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
So, yeah, thank you to Corbin Burnes for choosing to do that, which he certainly did not have any obligation to do and, didn't say like, hey, I'm not going to – was willing to talk about anything. And, yes, in hindsight, as I said before, knowing now this report about what the offer was, I would have liked to have been able to directly address that with him, but we didn't have that ahead of the interview. So a lot of the discourse last night regarding what to make of the Orioles offer – it's hard. You heard Corbin Burnes say, however, in his words, nothing was in writing. Now, that doesn't mean – I said this once upon a time about your anger about Mark Teixeira. The Orioles never reportedly were even particularly close about Mark Teixeira when it came to numbers. But what I had been told, it's sort of similar to this, was – the Orioles were never going to put an offer in front of Mark Teixeira. Our theory was at least partially misguided. Now, I've complicated. I don't want to because the Orioles were never going to put a contract offer in front of Mark Teixeira because there was a chance he would sign it. And even at the lower number than what the Yankees offered that had been reported, the Orioles were not going to be paying him that. It was made abundantly clear to me the Orioles engaged for the sake of trying to win public favor. Hometown hero, we better be involved. They were never actually going to put an offer in front of Mark Teixeira because there was a chance that even though it was less, Mark Teixeira might say, God, I just really want to be home. And he would sign it. And the Orioles were never going to pay Mark Teixeira. I don't know, based on that response, if this is the same thing, right? When I look at these numbers, when Rock Kabako says the Orioles, a lot of people skeptically said, well, they only made that offer because they knew he wouldn't take it. And I understand that skepticism. Frank would understand that cynicism. And if you combine that skepticism with Corbin Burnes saying, well, they never put anything in writing, they never actually made me a contract, like presented a contract, then it would probably make you feel like the Orioles never made an offer that they thought he was going to take. It's tough, right? Because if this report is true, and I have no reason to think that Rock would make this up, but to be fair, there is no doubt that someone within the warehouse would want, like, if they're sending it to Rock, they're sending it to a coworker. And Rock doesn't like that, and he always gets bothered by it, but he can't, create a new reality where that's not true. So there does have to be some grain of salt. But I say some just because Rock has journalistic instincts. His background was at the Baltimore Sun. Like, he's not just a lifelong employee of the Orioles. I don't know exactly what the line is here. I certainly don't think he made it up. I think someone told him that's what the offer was. Is that someone that's willing to give that to Rock, that if that same person sent that to Ken Rosenthal,
right,
Ken Rosenthal would vet that a little bit more and say, I got to run that by,
because he posted a piece this morning as well.
But did he?
He said first reported by the Orioles writers on Tuesday, and then confirmed by two sources in Burnes' camp.
Okay, so
what Rosenthal said. So that makes
that would seem
legit,
like it's a vetted, legitimate number. But again, was it a number that was offered in hopes that he wouldn't take it, so that the Orioles could?
They knew there was no way he was going to sign a 4-year
right.
deal.
But we want to make it seem as though we were really in on Corbin Burnes because he was popular here and the fan base wants us to be aggressive. Or is this just their way of saying this is what we're willing to do? Because that's the tricky part about this. My friend, hang on a second.
Okay. If they were willing to do that, like that's a.
But be careful. Be careful here.
Yeah.
There's still a fine line between these two things, right?
Do you believe that they were that was a real offer on the table?
Do I believe that it was a real offer on the table? Well, on the table is a funny word, right? Like, because Corbin Burnes is telling us it wasn't on the table. But that they will, if Corbin Burnes had said to them, yeah, I'll sign for that number, I don't have any reason to think that they wouldn't, right? Like, I don't know that. But this is really tricky. What's really tricky here, my friend Zach Moore tweeted this. I'm not sure going 6 years to a 30-year-old with declining numbers was the play. 4 years was on par. Don't think the Orioles will ever fall into the trap these other teams do with paying guys for years they can't contribute. And I know exactly what Zach's saying, and I know exactly why other people that are very intelligent say similar things, but it's the same thing as going to a poker game and them telling you at the door, this is a $1,000 poker game, and you saying, well, I'm comfortable paying $700. You don't get a seat. Like, something seeming intelligent, let's go fewer years, sounds great. And there could be reason to ask Corbin Burnes, hey, man, really, you wouldn't want one more bite at the apple in 4 years? Like, you get a higher annual value and a chance to maybe cash in one more time at 34? That's not better? We could have that conversation. Again, if I had known that, might be a conversation that I would have liked to have had. But if what Corbin Burnes is saying is that the years matter and you're not willing to do it, then it's kind of irrelevant. What was the shortest of the top pitchers on the market? Max Fried was 7 years, right?
Yes. Or did it end up being 8?
I thought it was 7 years.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he's younger. 8 year to 18.
8 to 18?
Yes.
Wow, I think it was 7. Who did somebody else do a 7-year deal?
Was that what Crochet just got extended, or was that a 6 year that Crochet got extended for? NCAA?
I don't remember. I apologize. I say all this to say, this if you're swimming in this end of the market, for whatever reason, they don't typically choose to do 4-year deals. Now, maybe at some point they'll take the basketball thought process of just trying to rip everything up after every year and constantly making more money, but that's not the way that it's worked. They've wanted the long-term deals with the...
The only player it looks like that signed for a 7-year deal was Willie Adames. I think everybody else was somewhere between 6 or... I think Fried was the longest in 8 years.
Who were the other top pitchers that signed this offseason?
I mean, Pavedes doesn't count as, I guess, a top pitcher, does he?
No, not. I'm saying like the top. So Burnes and Fried were the top two.
Eovaldi was a 3-year, 75.
So Garrett Cole did a 4-year deal.
Okay.
All right, so there is precedent, right? Garrett Cole did a 4-year deal. But if that's what they were telling you, Blake Snell was 5 years.
Okay.
If that's what they were telling you, was that we want the years matter. And you say, yeah, but we won't do that. Then what does it matter? That's the problem here. The problem with giving the Orioles too much credit here is that they still didn't make an offer, whether it was in writing or not. Even if you believe it was genuine, it wasn't one that was going to get Corbin Burnes. And if their answer is, we'll be willing to go high AAV but short term, then they're apparently going to take themselves out of the market for pitchers that want longer-term deals. And it'd be easy to say, well, Corbin Burnes wants that because he knows he's not going to be the same guy at 35 that he is today. Fine, but the market demand, he's able to get it. You don't get to choose what the market is. You don't get to determine a player's value. There is no trophy given out for accurately nailing what a player's value is. And yes, if some sort of deal becomes disastrous, then it would hurt the Orioles more than it would hurt other teams. We can recognize all these things as being true. But if someone's willing to pay that number and you're not getting the player. And then what do you have? And I'm not saying that this alone is the reason why the Orioles are in this position. As I said over and over again, if it wasn't going to be Corbin Burnes, fine, but it needed to be more than Tomo Sagano and Charlie Morton. There needed to be an in-between.
And Zach just pointed out it is weird that the years was the thing that he said mattered, and he gets the 6-year deal with Arizona, but then he has an opt-out after 2 with Arizona as well. So
fair, but I think based on what we know about him in Arizona, it's likely that he's using that just to get more money from Arizona. Right? And it's fair, Zach. It's a very good point. It's also totally plausible that no matter what the Orioles offered, he was still going to go to Arizona. It's totally plausible. The only part of this that I can't figure out is, does it matter that it wasn't in writing? He chose to say that. I didn't ask him that, right? I didn't say, hey, Corbin, was this in front of you? Could you have signed it? He chose to bring that up. Does that mean that he or Scott Boras have some sort of skepticism about whether or not it was legitimate? He seemed to say the right things. I think he thinks they were interested. He thinks they were. He didn't suggest that, I was offended. He said he was shaking his head when he met with the media yesterday, right? The number of years made him shake his head. If they decided this was the thing, that this is what we want years. The opt-out part is weird. He's right about that. It's weird. But that, again, could very well be look, I want to be here. I want to be able to go back to you in 2 years and say, the market's moved here. You got to move here with me.
And we're going to do that.
Are the Diamondbacks willing to do that?
Right.
I don't know. Were the Orioles willing to say, we'll do 4 years but no opt-out? And that's part of what he means by years, right? Is it the Orioles didn't want to offer an opt-out and the Diamondbacks did, and that matters to him? God, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known. I'm sorry. The timing sucks. I wish that I would have had that in order to be able to ask those questions. We didn't. But it doesn't change your reality. Your reality is you don't have Corbin Burnes, and you didn't have a viable replacement. And that's the part where even when I want to try to be encouraged, because in the immediacy I wanted to try to be encouraged. Hey, the Orioles are, because we had heard from, I think it was John Heyman that had reported that the Orioles had offered as much AAV as anyone else had. I wanted to be encouraged by the idea that they were doing that. I still want to be encouraged by it. But it continues to come back to the question. One, why was it Corbin Burnes or bust? Why was there no pivot? And it's easy to say, well, some of the other guys came off the market first. That's true, but not all of them. And certainly better options than Charlie Morton remained on the market. Like, they did. The secondary part is, are they only willing to spend money if a player is willing to meet them at their price? If the Pythagorean model works out, then we'll spend real money on a baseball player. Because that's the other part of this. Are they willing to compete with the market to win baseball players, knowing those contracts might not work out? That's the reality. That's how you play this game. You might sign someone to a contract that doesn't work. Because if they're not, then it's hard to be very encouraged by this. It's tough. Because if it's always going to be, yes, we'll spend money as long as it meets our, Ivy League mathematical equation that says that X player is worth X amount of dollars, we can do that. The players aren't doing the same mathematical equations. Scott Boras is not doing Pythagorean model. He's doing, what will someone pay us? And again, if the World Series was determined by who are the teams that got the best value of the money that they spent, then hell yeah, brother. On board. Let's do it. Let's boogie. But to my understanding, they don't play the World Series between those two teams. They play the World Series between the two teams that win the most baseball games and then win in the playoffs. So that's the difficult part about my reaction. Again, appreciate Corbin Burnes taking the time for us. In hindsight, wish it would have been like 3 hours later, but I do appreciate that he wanted to call in and wanted to spend some time chatting with us. So thank you to Corbin Burnes for doing that. And if you missed it, we will get it up here shortly in the greatest hits. All right. As if there wasn't enough, then after all the Corbin Burnes hullabaloo yesterday, we had the news that first the Orioles made it seem like, hey, Zach Eflin woke up today. He was feeling good. We're encouraged. And we were all like, yes. And then immediately after the game, we find out, nope, lat strain, shut down for a week. IL, we'll see what happens. And we say, feels like we've heard this before. That doesn't sound good. Joining us now, unfortunately, he is essentially our Grim Reaper anymore, which is a real shame because he's one of my favorite people. You know him from Under the Knife, his Substack, a longtime baseball voice. He is our friend, Mr. Will Carroll, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Will, good morning, sir. How are you, my friend? It is always good to catch up with you. It is.
It is. I try to be a little ray of sunshine.
I appreciate that. So, lat strain. Explain to dumb people like myself.
Okay, the latissimus dorsi, you can see why we just call it lat, is one of the largest muscles of the body. It's the big muscle at the back, kind of over your shoulder blade. If you reach your arm out, stretch it forward, that one that you feel just under your armpit, that's almost always the area where the strains and pitchers happen. It's called the musculotendinal junction. It's where the tendon and the muscle actually kind of come together sort of one morphs into the other, and it is the weakest part of that really big muscle. Now, normally you see these injuries, and we've been seeing more and more of them because you get these high spin rate pitchers trying to really pull down the ball. And if you think about that, if you're going through that motion and you're trying to snap your fingers at the end, you'll feel it in your lat. So you normally see that. You just can't throw without it. I mean, this is one of the muscles that's absolutely key to the process. Can you throw? Sure. Can you throw at full force? No. Where you'll feel it is right up under your armpit. It'll feel sometimes like it's in the triceps. A lot of people don't think about how everything kind of connects in the shoulder. It's really interconnected. It's really complex. And having a strain in that area, even a low grade, is a tough one.
Okay, so I wanted to get to the grade. The Orioles say it's low grade for Zach Eflin. What is the significance of that?
That grading is basically just saying how torn something is.
Okay.
Any strain is tearing of the muscle or tendon.
I feel like I remember
fibers.
an era where you had to remind people regularly that a strain is a tear. I feel like I remember an
I had
era
T-shirts,
of
man.
yes, yeah.
So, a strain, ST, is muscle or tendon. Sprain, with a P, is ligaments. So this is a strain. This is a low-grade strain. If you just think of this as a tearing of fibers, low-grade or grade 1 is very little tearing. There's some stretching of the fibers. There's a little bit of tearing. Grade 2 is what we call a palpable tear, where you can actually stick your finger and feel the gap in the muscle. And grade 3, well, it's cut. And it's early enough that I hope I don't ruin anybody's lunch. But muscle is just like steak. It's just like any sort of animal product. So if you think about cutting a steak and you cut just a little bit, that's grade 1. You cut a big chunk out of it, grade 2. Grade 3, you got 2 steaks now.
So, but now I want steak. So thanks a lot. I'm gonna fly out to visit you. We can go to Harry and Izzy's or something.
Oh, heck yeah.
So okay, if it's a low grade, if it legitimately is a low grade strain, right?
Yeah.
What is, they say they're going to shut him down for a week, but what is a reasonable timeline for recovery to be able to be a Major League Baseball pitcher in dealing with a low grade strain?
Well, here's the great thing. It used to be we couldn't see these. That's why we always had these very vague things. If you couldn't feel the chunk out of the muscle, oh, that's a grade 1. Now we've got better tools. We've got MRIs, which he had. We've also got ultrasound, and everybody's familiar with this. Everybody's seen the little picture of the baby in the womb. Well, we can do that on muscles as well. So you just take it, you take a look. We can see exactly where it is and how much it's healing. So here in 3 days, 7 days, they're going to do that, and they're going to take a look and say, okay, let's see how this thing is coming back together. And the body does heal itself. I mean, we've all seen this. And we've seen it on skin. You cut yourself, you bleed for a little bit, there's a scab, and then there's a scar. And that's what's happening in a muscle, is it's healing itself in much the same way. It's different in how it does it and what it's rebuilding. I mean, muscle is not the same as skin, but obviously there's going to be healing going on, and it's healing itself with scar. Now, the thing to remember is scar is never as strong as the muscle. That's why you see people that have these chronic hamstring strains, chronic calf strains. You can have the same thing. So you've got to wait for it to heal enough to start doing things again. Otherwise, you're just going to restrain it.
In a perfect world, if, after the shutdown time, he comes back, he feels good, then could we be talking about just a matter of weeks? Is that reasonable?
Yeah, it's reasonable. If he comes back and it heals well and he takes to the treatment and they adjust some things. I mean, is this just that he got fatigued and then went out there and threw? Mm-hmm. Fatigue is the absolute enemy of any pitcher. So then they just have to manage a couple things. They have to manage how much effort he's doing, how his recovery is. Maybe his workload wasn't in the place that they wanted it to be, and they'll have all that data. They'll be able to see what was changing in his biomechanics. This is not a stupid team. This is not a bad medical staff. It's one of the better ones, and it's one of the smarter teams. So they're going to have all the smart guys working on this to try to make sure it doesn't happen again.
So Will Carroll, under the knife with us here on GCR, what would the worst case scenario be, just so we've talked about it?
Yeah, the worst case would be he comes back, has the same thing. If you do the same thing, you're going to often get the same results. So that's what you worry about, is that he tries to come back too soon, or he gets back out there, gets back into an energy deficit. The muscle gives out. It gives out worse. Then you're talking about situations like we've seen more and more where you have to have surgery to put the muscle back together. And then think about this. I'll go back to the steak. Go home, cut a steak, a raw steak, which, I mean, your lat isn't cooked in your body, and now stitch that thing back together. That's what a surgeon has to do. It's difficult. It puts it together. It makes it so the body can scar, but it's never as strong, and it's a really, really difficult surgery.
Is it 50-50 to you? Is it like, hey, there's a half a chance?
No.
Okay.
No, the thing we have to remember is that there's no reason for a team. This gets into a philosophical discussion.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for a team to lie. You're going to find out about it. People like me, people like you,
yep.
We're going to find out when a team lies to us. I don't think the idea that they said, it was fatigue, and then, I think it was a response. They got more information, they did more tests, and they said, oh, you know what, there is a small tear in here.
Okay.
So we've got to work with that. I don't think they're going to lie to us. I don't think they're going to misdirect us. I wish they'd give more information. I wish they'd be open and more transparent with the fans, because building that trust, you're building a trust. You're putting some coins in the trust bank between a team and their fans. We're all invested in these guys. We love to see our players. We don't want to see them hurt. We want to understand this. I think teams have a big opportunity to let their athletic trainer, let their team doctor come out and explain this, build up that trust, and build even more of a relationship between the fans. I was kind of hoping new ownership would mean a little more transparency.
Yeah, boy, you'd really like that. We'd also hope that new ownership would mean like more money spent and things along those lines. So, Will, there's still some questions that we have about that. Since I have you, could I ask the last time we talked, it was of course about Grayson Rodriguez, and the word was that after the shutdown, everything was good. He started throwing again. We saw him up in Toronto throwing before games. He had said he expected it basically to be like an entirely new spring training after he started again, that probably it was going to be like a 4 to 6 week ramp-up period for him after the elbow inflammation. Does that, as long as again, everybody's being truthful, does that feel right to you that Grayson Rodriguez probably could return somewhere in May to June?
No, I think it'll be earlier than that. I think it'll be May. I think the thing we've learned, and this is part of the research that I worked on back in the 2015-16 range, is workload is really important. We've got to not only build up, but ramp down at times. It used to be guys would just shut down. It used to be we'd have a lot of injuries right after the All-Star break. It was because guys took a week off from doing virtually anything. They'd go back and see the wife or do whatever that you do over the All-Star break. We know now that's bad. We've got to keep the arm energized. So these ramp-up periods, they're scientific now rather than just, well, go throw 3 innings, then throw 4 innings. Even though that seems like the progression now, you can see guys on rehab assignment doing 30 pitches, 45 pitches, 60 pitches. It doesn't seem scientific, but there's actually things behind that. If you want to read up on acute to chronic workload ratio, especially in baseball, the guy who invented that was Ben Hansen. He's now with the Mets, and they're one of the best at putting rehab programs back together. I wonder why. We need more people like that in baseball.
That's very interesting. That is very interesting. I guess we should point out, I think he did throw a bullpen on Monday. So
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Everything on Rodriguez that I know of, and I've been watching him closely, has gone to plan. So I expect a rehab assignment to be, perhaps as soon as next week.
Okay. All right. That would be very encouraging news, given everything that's been going on with the Baltimore Orioles. Let me just pick, because this comes up in the Orioles in particular. It was Bradish last year. Now, everybody keeps bringing up that, boy, it's unbelievable. It just seems like every year it's more and more. It gets worse and worse pitching injury-wise. Will, is there anything we can do about this, or is this just the nature, as the President of the United States said the other day, I'll spare myself any commentary. In particular, this is pitching. Is this just the way it is? Like, is this just the new normal and the reality, and this is what you're going to have to deal with.
A little bit. We could do better. We can do a lot better. We can get a whole lot more scientific. We can monitor workloads. We're doing a lot of things. Things behind the scenes are significantly better, but we're just throwing so gosh darn hard. Guys, a couple of weeks ago, I was watching a game. It was a spring training game, and some guy came out, and he's like number 97. I'm like, who is this guy? Never heard of this guy. Why is he in the major league game? And first pitch he throws was 98. And I'm like, I have never heard of this guy in my entire life, and he's throwing 98. When I was a kid, if somebody threw 98, I'm buying his rookie card. I'm buying a jersey because 98, he's the next star. Today, it's just another guy. Heck, it's probably another college kid over in Maryland throwing 97, 98 with every pitch. And all this spin, all this velocity, it's putting more and more pressure on a human body that really hasn't changed.
You want to remind everybody about Under the Knife?
Yeah, you can go to undertheknife.substack.com. Today's is out, where I explain a whole lot more about the latissimus dorsi and what's going on with Zach Eflin. And, Blake Snell, he's hurt along with virtually every other Dodgers pitcher, and yet somehow they're still the favorite. How does that work?
I mean, well, it's nice when you have 70 major league players on your roster. It's just really nice to be able to do that. Will Carroll, always appreciate you, even when we don't like the subject matter. You're the best. Thank you for taking the time for us this
hopefully
morning.
You feel a little bit better.
Yes, I do, and I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks a lot, man.
That's Will Carroll with us here on GCR. Under the Knife, again, very much worth checking out. Very informative. Hope for the best. Again, you like the idea that Grayson Rodriguez start a rehab assignment soon, and maybe by May they're both pitching for the Baltimore Orioles, and then the Orioles have two starters, which wouldn't that be something? Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Hour number 1 of today's show is in the books. It has been brought to you by the print issue of Press Box. These are the final days to get this one with David Rubenstein on the cover. We got a new baseball-themed issue of Press Box hitting newsstands next week, so make sure you get this before it's gone. Go to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of those hundreds of locations around town where you find it, and read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. All right, come back in, get you caught up on everything that was going on elsewhere that wasn't Orioles-related, Corbin Burnes or Zach Eflin. And Drew's going to join us this hour. Apparently, he's too big of a star to come in studio anymore, but we'll check in with him anyway, and he can inform us of what's...
What if he's in Augusta? That's what.
Is he going this year? I don't remember him telling us he was going this year.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, they can't have a cell phone for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't. Definitely
Why, you're not
can't do
allowed
that.
to have a cell phone?
Oh, no, they are very... It's... Dude,
I didn't know.
however
Thought it was golf.
erudite you think Augusta is, like, they want you to think it's about 20 times more than that. Like, it is... It's for Duke basketball fans. That's, I guess, people that are connected to the school. Anyway, Drew's still to come. That's on the way. Glenn Clark Radio.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Let's continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of GCR. Scenarios are up, facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. Trying to get them posted at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter and Blue Sky. Apparently one of them with the link that I put in is too long. It's the damnedest thing. It's very frustrating. Now I got to go edit it, and it's just it's a whole thing. It's just a whole deal. I saw that Maryland does have officially a fifth basketball player now. So they got that going for him, which is nice. Andre Mills.
That's right. I'm going back. Oh, Andre Mills.
Oh, this is your moment? I didn't realize you still had eligibility.
Oh yeah, I was a COVID kid, so
you still have the fifth year.
I basically have 3 or 4 years
That's
left.
a great point. I didn't even think about that. Andre Mills, who was apparently a top 100 prospect out of Boston a couple years ago, but did not play last year. And I don't know the story because, again, I'm just seeing this, and so I haven't had time to chew it up and figure out what it is. But Andre Mills, 6'4", he redshirted last year. He did not play. I guess that probably meant an injury. Was he who it was that Manny Obaseki was talking to us about? I feel like he was talking to us about someone who had redshirted that they thought was really talented.
No, because he had a longer last name, didn't he?
Okay, then it wasn't, and I have no idea again then. I don't have the answer.
Hold on. I'll figure it out.
Okay, nope, great. Anyway, just going to sit here.
Well, yeah, just hold on.
We've reached the portion of the program where Griffin Bass reads Twitter. And now, to read Twitter from a week ago, I give you Griffin Bass.
No, that's not him either. It was, shoot, maybe it was Andre Mills. Was it Andre Mills? Or was it Turk? No, was it Turkson? Maybe that's who he was talking about.
Oh, that does sound familiar,
Yeah,
Turkson. That does sound familiar.
Yeah.
I
don't know what he's gonna do.
I say this to say, they're behind the scenes. We are considering perhaps some changes to Glenn Clark Radio, in part to try to tighten stuff like this up. Not personally on Griffin, both of us. Just want to tighten some things up around these parts, and so we are considering. I'll tell you. I'll tell you straightforward. We are considering shortening the length of the show.
What?
Yeah, shortening the length of it, in order to, like, instead of doing a 2-hour show where we just come and turn the microphones on. A thought: we come in and prep for like an hour, and then we do a tight hour show where things are prepared, where we have everything lined up, the whole deal. Instead of me every week we do Would You Rather Wednesday and it's 11:06 and I still haven't posted the Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios, we're considering some changes. That's all. We're considering some things that might be different about GCR moving forward. I say all that to say, but you'd miss this. Just be honest.
I think so. Yeah.
You'd miss the part where we have no idea what we're doing and no idea what we're saying. It's kind of the GCR charm, if you will. Like, this is an actual production. We actually did this. This is a thing that we did today. Is that what we're talking about? I don't know. That's what you get from us. But they officially have a fifth basketball player. And that means they could put together a starting five right now. All those 5 guys could be the 5 guys. Would they fit positionally?
Time for them to redo the way too early top 25.
Right. Now that you got 5 guys.
Yeah.
I saw, by the way, that Maryland finished 9th in the final AP poll.
Well, that's like based on last year. So like if
No, but I'm saying like, do you think they were the best of the teams that lost in the Sweet 16?
I think because they lost to Florida.
Right, I don't think so.
Who were the other teams that lost in this week?
I don't even remember, but I don't think Maryland was the best of them. I mean, like, do they deserve to be ranked higher than Purdue? Purdue, of course, took Houston to the limit.
Yeah, but Houston lost to Florida. I mean, they're terrible.
Great point. But Maryland got pounded by Florida.
Yeah, but they were down by 2 at halftime.
I understand. That did happen. Purdue was down by 2 at the end. And I do think Maryland on the whole was better than Purdue. So I don't know what to make of all these things. But, like, really, was Maryland the best of the teams that lost in the Sweet 16?
Were they better than BYU?
Maybe.
Arizona?
Maybe.
Arkansas?
Yeah, maybe.
Ole Miss?
I don't know.
Kentucky? Michigan? We think they're better, but
it's not worth doing this. I mean, they did just lose to Michigan a couple weeks before. And I know you'd say, but they also beat them on the road. Like, I get it. Like, I don't know. Whatever. It's really not worth it. That it doesn't get you anything. They don't hang. They don't hang a banner.
You think it should be 10th?
They don't have a banner that said 9th in the final AP poll. Could you imagine?
Top 10 in final AP poll.
It's like the Indianapolis Colts finalist banner. Like, could you imagine if you walked in next year and they said 2025, number 9 in final poll?
They should put a semifinalist 2025 Big Ten tournament.
Right. That's more like the Indianapolis Colts thing for sure. They have a fit basketball player, so they have that going for them, which is nice. Maryland women have brought in a couple of really intriguing transfers this week as well. Like somebody who was an all Big Ten performer last year. Again, this is the charm, is that I'm thinking about one thing and then it reminds me of another thing, and so then I just say that, but I don't have the facts in front of me. I just know that I saw it, and now I'm going to task Griffin with looking up who it was that transferred, and
I'm not gonna be able to find it. That's how it's gonna work.
Great. Glenn Clark Radio.
Well, I mean,
how could we possibly tighten?
Me up
how
here,
could we
I wasn't
possibly
ready.
tighten the show? How could we possibly do that? That doesn't seem possible. All right, Maryland women's basketball. They brought in Penn State center Gracie Merkel.
Gotcha.
Averaged 15.5 points and 8.6 rebounds per game for the Nittany Lions. Also, Indiana guard Yarden Garzone. She was a full-time starter, 43% career shooter from beyond the arc, and an all-Big Ten second-team selection.
I like it just poaching the competition. I like that.
Exactly. Weakens them, strengthens you at the same time. Win is what they call it. And just because we're talking about Maryland women's basketball, I want to do this later, but maybe we'll bring it up and then we can take a break. Really sad news yesterday. And I don't want to pretend that I was very close with Vicky Brick, because I was never. I knew Vicky Brick. I interacted with her on a number of occasions. Vicky Brick, who played at the University of Maryland, but you probably became more familiar with because she became very involved in her parents' company. I want to say she rose to like CFO or CEO maybe of Brick Bodies, and was regularly in the commercials that you would see for Brick Bodies, and was a very public face. Vicky Brick was a hell of a basketball player in her career at Maryland and her prep career. Beyond that, Vicky Brick was just an incredibly kind person. Like, every time I had an interaction with her, it was remarkably pleasant, and she was the type of person that would, like, make sure to wish you a happy birthday she was just an unbelievably thoughtful human being. Incredibly, as we always say, F cancer, right? Like, again, I say this saying, I was not close enough with Vicky to have known where she was at this point in the process, but just unbelievably saddened. Very young, basically my age, maybe a year or two older, a couple of years older. Unbelievably saddened by the news of Vicky Brick's passing, and thoughts not just with her and her family and Victor and Lynn, who were at one point in a different life. When I first moved back to Maryland, then I kind of the night the thing where I was not sleeping and getting up at 5 a.m. and it was not good for my health. And I had worked out a deal. They wanted me to be a spokesperson for them, and they were really thoughtful. And as much as it was about business, it was also about like, hey, we want to help you. What can we do for you to make this beneficial for you in your life? Who can we connect you with? And that meant a great deal. And they've supported a lot of people locally. They're a phenomenal local business and a family that's truly like an American dream type of family. And so my thoughts are with everybody that knew Vicky Brick, who was a hell of a player and a dynamite person, just a really, really wonderful human being.
She was CEO
Thank you.
of
I
Brick.
appreciate
She
that.
was 44.
Just unfathomable. Awful. I mean, I was really like it because I don't want to suggest I was not close. We were not, in the same circle, anything along those lines. But I interacted with her a bunch, so I was not aware of where it was. So when I saw that yesterday, it really cut me. Like, that's just awful. A wonderful person, really, truly wonderful. All right, we will grab a break, and then we'll come back in, and we will talk to Drew Forrester next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious filling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
I don't know what happened here. I'm afraid that Griffin might be dead. I don't know what's going on. It's okay. We'll just sit here and wait, I guess.
My fault.
Wow. Holy crap. All right. Sorry, it is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. That was awkward.
Sorry.
Again, how could we possibly shorten this show? How could we do that? Imagine what you'd be missing if we shortened the show. The parts like that. That would go away. We wouldn't have that. That wouldn't be acceptable. Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios are up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter for you to check them out. Get your responses in, and you can win a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. If you missed Stan, Ross, and Luke talking baseball, you can go find that right now. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan's shows are brought to you by the Costas Inn. I feel like there was one other thing, and then we'll talk to Drew Forrester. Yes, sorry, from Chris. Chris says, Glenn, with the Suns being irrelevant, is there anyone you're No, that's not what I wanted to get to. That was different. Sorry. I had 3 other things that were written down on my sheet, and of course I missed all of them.
Is it about Michael Malone then, or
no? I mean it was certainly weird. Michael Malone gets fired yesterday by the Denver Nuggets, like right before the playoffs start.
Also, Westbrook gets another one, is what they're saying. That's,
yeah, sure. I just don't get how it's going to help you. That's the you want to say that there's been some disappointment there. You want to say that whatever you want to say, that's fine. They're a game behind the Lakers in the race for the 3 seed in the West. The teams that are at the top of the West are teams without experience. Is it possible that this will provide you the jolt? Maybe. But we are kind of living in a bizarro world where this is the type of thing. Once upon a time, this is panic. This is how you acknowledge failure. We can't win the title. But yeah, it's weird. I do like Michael Malone, good guy, obviously a Loyola alum. But this is just the way it works now. I guess there was apparently a couple weeks ago there was a press conference and he really got after the players in the press conference. And the internet seems to think that this is the reason why Michael Malone got fired, because the players just don't want to accept or tolerate that anymore. And then, of course, we all have our opinions about that. I have no idea if there's any truth to that whatsoever. None. No clue. This is just something that the internet has run with. But what I would say is, if it is, we kind of also have to understand, as much as it sucks, this is the era where the players are the ones that have the power. That's never going to change. They're making ungodly amounts of money. They have the power. If they say the coach has got to be out, you're not winning that. And I know there'd be lots of people that would say that's a poorly run organization. Fine. The players have the power now. We can hate it. We can be furious about it. We can say this is insane. But that's the way that it works. So, I mean, I don't know. They're 47-32. It is objectively hilarious. The Nuggets fired their coach. The Suns have not. I mean, they're going to do it in a couple of days, I'm aware. But they have not fired their coach
They want to be
yet.
nice.
They're going to.
It's like the Jerry Jones thing.
Sure. Sure.
Just everyone's friends with the owners there.
Right. Joining us this morning here on GCR. Apparently too big of a star anymore. He's down in Annapolis, I guess, trying to get a bill passed. I'm not really sure what's happening down there. I don't know. He is Drew Forrester, drewsmorningdish.com, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What are you doing down there?
What a player sympathizer you've become.
I just
unbelievable.
Said you don't. I literally just said the words. You don't have to like it. I'm not telling you to.
Why don't you be the ball boy?
But if you're going to try to change reality, you can't. They're the ones getting paid billions of dollars. They're the ones with the power.
Why don't you wash the clothes?
What is this?
Be the equipment guy.
What is this?
I'm down in Annapolis for the individual high school championship, which started on Monday and then got rained out. So now here we are down in Annapolis today. Sorry I couldn't be there to sympathize with the players with you, but maybe next Wednesday.
Go ahead and tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead and tell me that.
No, I'm not. I don't have the time or the energy to do it today. But
I know you don't like it. I'm aware that you don't like it. I don't blame you for not liking it. It feels inherently incorrect and bad business, but tell me I'm wrong.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'll let your wife do that. She does it every night.
That's a conversation for a different day. All right. So I guess two things. One, first of all, like who matters this weekend? How many golfers actually? I had you on because the Masters are this weekend, and I'm supposed to feign that I care. You know that I don't care. I love you. I just don't. But you're going to tell me why I should care. Tell me why I should care.
Well, you should only care because you're a sports broadcaster.
Yeah,
it's a sport.
Since when?
It's the biggest. I mean, the reason I care is it's the biggest golf. To me, it's the biggest golf tournament of the year. It's the best golf tournament of the year. Might not be the hardest because I think the U.S. Open.
But other than it's the Masters. Give me something besides it's the Masters, because I get it. For a lot of people, that's all that matters. I'll watch the Masters.
Well, I mean, the
no
biggest storyline. The biggest storyline is McIlroy. I mean, obviously, he's trying to win a tournament he's never won before. He's trying to complete the career Grand Slam. You know, he's been stuck on 4 for a long time. He hasn't won a major in 11 years, which seems bizarrely impossible. It's probably the first time I can ever remember where I actually do kind of think he could win. I'm usually not of that mindset, but I do think there's something about this year that's different with him. So, you know, he would be my rooting interest just because I think the career Grand Slam is such a cool achievement, and not many guys have done it. And, you know, he grew up idolizing Tiger, and Tiger's one of the only few that has done it. So he's a storyline. I think any of the live golfers turn into storylines just because of, and obviously Koepka is the only live golfer so far who has won one. But, you know, there's always that. There is that storyline.
But are we still doing that, or are we still at?
Yeah. Well, they just turned down the $1.5 billion thing from the PIF, so I don't think CBS will brew it up this weekend because that's just not their forte. But it is a story that's brewing a little bit in the golf world. Is that it's been a wrestling match, right? One guy was, the Liv led for a while. Now the PGA Tour's pinned them down for a little while. So it's kind of going back and forth. But I do think there's a storyline there. If, I said, by the way, only one's done it. Koepka did it, and so did DeChambeau. So two Liv players have won majors. But I do think if one of them were to win, it does bubble up again, and it does create interest in who has the better group of players. So to that end, I think it's cool. And I think, there's still a storyline about Scotty Scheffler, even though he hasn't won this year, but this incredible 2-year run he's on. Can he win a couple majors this year? Can he win 4 or 5 times? Can he keep looking like Tiger? So, I think those are really the 3 biggest storylines. Rory, the live players, and can Scheffler win again? It would be 3 times in 4 years for him, which actually is something Tiger never even did. Tiger never won it 3 times in 4 years. So that would be kind of cool. Yeah.
So let me ask, because I want to go back, because then I want to bring up this weird Colin Morikawa thing that I saw bubbling this week. I have sensed that like the PGA Live thing has just been dead. Now again, I say this as a 0 on golf. Like I am not if they're talking about it at Golf Digest or on the Golf Channel, I'm never going to find it. But in like the general sports world, I have just sort of sensed that like nobody cares about Live. They've moved to. I didn't even know they were on Fox Sports. Now they're not even buried on the CW. I guess they're doing Fox Sports stuff, and still nobody cares, and nobody's watching, and nobody's talking about it, other than if Donald Trump says something about it, and then they care about Donald Trump, but not actually about Live. And the assumption had been for a while that like at some point they're just all going to end up back together, so there really is no rivalry. Like where is that? That's just been put to bed to me.
Yeah, I don't think it bubbles up until the majors. And now this is really the start of, these next 4 months is the start of the real crux of the golf season. So you've got the Masters now in 6 weeks or 5 weeks. You've got the PGA up in Philly. Then 5 weeks after that, you got the U.S. Open, and 5 weeks after that, got the British Open. That's those 4 tournaments. No matter what anybody says about the John Deere Classic or Wells Fargo, this or that, these 4 events are what makes the golf season. So I do think it doesn't. I think you're right. It has been quelled a little, but the only reason it's been quelled a little is they've been on the other side of the world playing, and our guys are here playing. But now we're going to see this weekend Jon Rahm, Joaquin Niemann, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau. Could have loved playing something that gets some flames going is pretty good. You know, Koepka's pretty good at that. If he's leading after 2 rounds, he'll say something snarky, and you know they'll run with those headlines. So I don't disagree with you that I do feel like it's been quelled, but the only is just because they've been playing on the other side of the world for the last 4 months.
I hear you, man, but like nobody watched. Like if Brooks Koepka wins the
cares.
Masters,
I would agree with that.
Is anybody going to care about the next Live tournament? Like it's
no, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. But it'll give them some fodder to.
Sure,
it will give them fodder, which is what they're looking for to lay a claim that we have the best players here.
It's weird,
which
though.
is really all they've ever wanted to do.
Right, but it almost feels like for most of these guys, like they've almost acknowledged how much they're just going through the motions, right? Like
for sure, Koepka in particular.
Yeah, like this is.
I think if you cut him open and you said good move or bad move or regrettable or not regrettable, and you cut him open and you could really get the truth out of him, he would tell you he regrets leaving.
Right, sure. Are we still at the point where
I kind of feel like John Rahm does too. The other ones like Garcia and Westwood and Poulter, those guys just took the 30 or 40 million
right.
because they were in the November of their career. But these other guys really did ding their career a little bit by doing this. So anyway.
Yeah. Drew Forrester, drewsmorningdish.com, and of course Fairways and Greens Sunday on 105.7 The Fan. So can you explain this Colin Morikawa thing to me? Because I can't believe I did this, but I watched this video. I watched the thing that Rory said. I watched the thing that he said. I have no idea what his point is. He's mad that they don't grill him when he loses, but then he walked out. Like what in the world was he trying to say?
It is, it's Palmer earlier in the year, frittered away a lead late, and didn't want to talk. And that sort of started it. Some of the old guard, Shipnuck, Van Valkenburg, a lot of those guys, the old guard of golf writers, kind of nipped at him a little bit about his personality. Hey, he's always happy-go-lucky and jumping around when things are going great, and then he loses and we don't see him. And then he got pissy and said, a couple of things about, I don't know you guys anything, and then Brandon Chambly got involved, and it is kind of a nothing burger, but in the golf world, because the tour is so devoid of any. There's friction in the NBA and the NHL every single night. Guys are fighting with each other. Guys are getting kicked out. People are getting ejected. People are calling the refs. People are doing, it's just baseball. They're throwing at each other. They're so devoid of that any time there's even a smidgen of controversy, it gets blown out of proportion. Do I think he's right when he says, not really, but I'm saying that because I've been doing this and you've been doing this forever. And if I want to talk about you and write about you, I'm going to decide what I want to write about you and what I want to talk about you.
Right. Yes. It's certainly not our obligation.
You're not telling me.
Yeah. Correct.
Correct. Yeah. So I do think he was a little overboard.
I just didn't get. Like,
again,
it was so weird, man. He sounded like he was saying. I swear to God, it sounded like what he said was, you don't just get to talk to me when I win. And then he was saying that about him not wanting to talk after. Like, what am I missing here? What are you mad about?
Right.
Like, what? Now,
right.
I thought that Rory McIlroy had an interesting point, which is, hey, we don't have within our deal an obligation. And so I'm going to defend the guy because he doesn't have to, right? Like, I can't ding him for not doing something he doesn't have to do, which is his point. And to the point, like I would think that the PGA Tour and their desire to get more coverage and be more relevant and not just live within a golf vacuum would probably want that from their players, that they would all speak to the media because when you lose, you might say something interesting, right? And that might get, some coverage beyond within the golf vacuum.
And by the way, he could Morikawa could very well be the winner this week, which would really be interesting.
That would be interesting, right?
I think he has a very, very good chance of winning. He is a great player. He's having a great year statistically. Everything he does dovetails well with Augusta, I do think there's a really good chance he could win. So that would be interesting.
Did you make a pick today, or you wait till tomorrow to do that?
I did. He's one of my three. Nope. If you press me to pick one guy, I'm going to pick Matsuyama. But I do have Morikawa, Cantlay, and Matsuyama as my top three.
All right. You gonna ask or no?
So, hey, Glenn, who you picking?
I think he's due.
I know.
I think it's time.
Go ahead.
I'm going with Chi-Chi. That's my guy. You know that.
Well,
one of these times.
God could, Jesus once said, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. God is the only one who could make Chi-Chi win.
What is it Vitas Gerulaitis said the one time? You can't. Nobody, and I mean no one, beats Vitas Gerulaitis. What is it, 27 times, 22nd consecutive times? No one, and I mean no one, is wrong about Chi-Chi Rodriguez winning a major championship 127 consecutive times.
Well, let's see what he does.
All right, very good. You want to play Would You Rather Wednesday since you're here?
I can't. I got to go because kids are.
Well, you got to go coach him?
Give me one real quick. Give me one real quick. No, I'm the starter. Go ahead,
all right. Would you rather they trade Kobe Mayo, Enrique Bradfield, and Chase McDermott for Sandy Alcantara, or they just wait and hope to get their own guys back?
You cut out. You said would they trade who? Bradfield?
Mayo, Bradfield, and McDermott for Alcantara, or they just hope to get their guys back?
Nah, hold on. We're not panicking.
Yeah. Why would we panic? They have no starters. Why would they panic?
You know why we're not panicking?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I got two words for you.
Yeah.
Charlie Morton.
That's right, baby. That's right, Charlie Morton. You
by August? His ERA will be he'll be allowed no runs. By
That's
August.
a great point. Yeah.
No, that's correct. He will not allow any runs in August. I agree with you there.
Yeah, that's the way it's gonna go. Are you live 4 to 6 on Sunday?
Yes, we're going to break every FCC rule we can.
There you
Live
go.
Play-by-play on Sunday.
There you go. Tune in to Drew as he watches the TV. Yep. That's what 2 hours of listening to Drew watch television.
You got it.
You know what? I can't believe you haven't invited me in. I can't believe
it. You can't beat it.
All right, bud.
All right, bud. Have a great day.
That's Sunday. See you.
God bless you guys.
Drew Forrester, DrewsMorningDish.com, Fairways and Greens, 105.7 The Fan. Do me a favor. Try to find this Colin Morikawa, because I don't care at all about golf, even a little bit. Like, not even the slightest. You cannot, the rest of you with your azaleas and your piment, shove it up your ass. I don't care. In fact, I like it less because it's the Masters. Because it's the highfalutin, exclusive, like, go F yourselves. Like, there are other pretty-looking spring things. Like, I don't have to tune into a golf course to see something that looks pretty in the spring. It's just, it'll never be for me. I've tried a million times, and if it's for you, it's for you. Like, God love you. It's for Drew, clearly. For other people, it's for them.
So what did he do?
Colin Morikawa, apparently a couple weeks ago, just lost, as Drew was trying to explain. Like, blew a lead, lost, and then stormed off without talking to reporters. And it created this whole firestorm. And he did a press conference at, I think if you go to Awful Announcing's Twitter, you should be able to find it. If not, don't worry. I got you. I think Drew actually might have even retweeted it yesterday. Because I don't know how it came into my world. Lord knows. I'm certainly not following. Like, the golf people that I follow on Twitter are Drew and Kevin, and that's about the list. Yeah, here we go. You need it?
Yeah, go ahead and send it to me.
One of these days, I'm gonna get you. One of these days, we're gonna be able to find things quickly. There you go. You have it on Twitter. So he storms, and it creates this whole back and forth about Colin Morikawa and dodging the media and what the obligations are.
Bring up a little bit of
it came up at his, I guess all the players do a press conference at Augusta before the tournament, and it came up in his press conference, and his answer was just so effing bizarre that I was really hoping that Drew could give greater context to it, because I am still confused by what he even thinks he was saying here.
Sorry in advance for bringing up a little bit of a sore subject, but your comments at the players on, you don't know the media, anything, got a lot of attention, a lot of criticism that you seemed upset by. The conversation around that whole situation was, professional golfers in comparison to other athletes from other sports are soft or sensitive when dealing with criticism. Do you think that's a fair or unfair assessment?
It's an interesting way to put that question. I'll answer it in a few pieces. So one, I was not upset by it. I think everyone took it in a wrong direction. I said it in my second media thing. I could have said it differently, but I stand by what I said, right? I was in the moment. We talk about giving people space to be who they are. And at that time, it was for me to be who I was. And I didn't want to be around anyone. I didn't even want to be around my wife. I said hi to her after, we hugged. And I just went straight to the locker room, right? So in that aspect, I'm not, I think there needs to be a balance and an ebb and flow between everything, right? I do want to be here for you guys, but here's the thing. I've been in the top 5 in the world before, and people don't come up to me and ask me questions. So if you guys, you can't just ask me when I'm playing well. You guys should be asking the top 10 players every single week, every single day, and just document it, Then you get a sense of who we are, and you get a flow of how that comes to be, right? But if you're only asking me, look, I've been in the top 5 for however long, in my career. I mean, there's plenty of times where media doesn't ask me. So there's a balance, right? If you guys don't want to ask me, then it's not my job to go out and tell you my story. Sometimes it is, right? But you do that through social media. You do that through playing well, winning tournaments. But not everyone's like that. So that's what I don't get, this whole, So I stand by what I said.
I have no idea what any of that is supposed to mean. There are times where we just live in a... Try to explain that. What is he trying to say? Because I do think this goes beyond golf. This can become interesting. When he suggests that it's the media's job to tell a story. Well, to some extent, that's true, right? To some extent.
So he doesn't want to talk to the media regardless?
But this is the problem that I have. He's like, well, you can't just talk to me when I'm winning. Right, well, they would say, well, we tried to talk to you when you lost.
And you ran away.
And you walked away. So But then he says, well, I'm in the top 5 and you're not talking to me. But so you said they only talk to you when you're winning, but then you wouldn't talk to them when they lost. And then you just also said, but he was in the top 5 and that means that you're winning and you didn't talk to him then either. So what? And again, I acknowledge openly, I don't know anything about golf. Van Valkenburg could probably explain this to me tremendously, but I'm only reminded that I cared about it because Drew came on with us. Because I do think it's a broader conversation. I brought it up with Naomi Osaka in tennis, where Naomi Osaka genuinely had mental health issues that she dealt with. And as part of her mental health issues, she hated doing post-match press conferences. Hated it. And it to me, it felt genuine. It didn't feel like, here's an excuse for trying to get out of something I don't like doing. It felt like it was very real, that it caused her an amount of anxiety that was too much to bear. And so for a second, Colin Morikawa kind of dances around that topic, right? When I blew a lead, I didn't even want to be around my wife. I didn't want to talk to anybody. It's a mental health kind of thing. But is it really a diagnosed mental health issue, or is it just I'm in a bad mood? And where's the line between those two things, right? We're all allowed to have genuine feelings. There's an accepted understanding that the benefit of athletes being available to speak to the media is that it does raise the game. People will watch the games no matter what. But it is good to see athletes in all sorts of circumstances. Wins, losses, whatever it is. if it's always sanitized, if it's always the version that they want to put out there on social media or that the teams want to present, then you don't see a human side to it. The leagues know, the teams get scared, but the leagues know controversy is good. Someone saying something inflammatory after a game is good. Maybe not for the person, maybe not for the team, but for the broader conversation. It's a good thing because then people will talk about it. Because we'll get the wheels spinning. If this weekend, I can't even, Max Homa, who's another golfer. I'm so sorry.
Victor Hovland.
If Victor Hovland says Jordan Spieth is a dirty mother effer.
That'd be awesome because they're both going to finish like 20th.
Sure. If that's what happens this weekend, then there will be people discussing that would otherwise not care at all about golf. That's, for them, a good thing. Is it? Like, do you really want that? No. But can it benefit you? Yeah, it can. It's a fine line. That's why these things are good. It's good to get raw emotions, because when you get raw emotions, you might get something interesting. When you get sanitized, when you get a day later, I'm going to put a statement up on social media, it's painfully uninteresting. The most interesting part about it is that you didn't speak to the media afterwards. And maybe somebody will go after you for that, and maybe that'll generate a little bit of buzz and a little bit of interest. It's this unspoken thing. Do players need the traditional media? Not necessarily. I've said for years that the next evolution of team broadcasting should be a willingness to criticize internally. We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. These teams are not going to... I've said it before. The Ravens would like it if none of us were ever over there again. But it's everybody. Who doesn't want to control their message? They want to be able to keep the same size audience, but have control over the message. State media. Why wouldn't you want to control your message? Now, you'd like to hope there's enough people around there that see the benefits of, well, hey, if we control the message, then it becomes, again, too sanitized and a little bit less interesting, and it might chase some people away. It's hard to quantify, but in doing this the way that I do it for a living, I can tell you with certainty the Ravens have become less interesting over the years. Because you can't touch them as much, because there's less, it's more sanitized. There's less of a chance of Terrell Suggs flapping his gums and saying something interesting that could get us a week's worth of conversation on the radio, and then that's what people are talking about in town, and that's what matters. And then, if we're talking about it, then, oh, right, I remember I wanted to buy a Terrell Suggs jersey. And I'm not trying to suggest that it's hurt the Ravens from a business perspective, because Lord knows the Ravens are doing fine from a business perspective. I said acknowledging I can't quantify it or give tangible value to it. But they are less interesting. There was a time where we could just do Ravens talk all off season because we knew that's what everybody in town was talking about. But like, I go to the gym, and there are people at the gym that know who I am and what I do for a living, and unless the Ravens actually make a move, there's very little Ravens conversation. Like, if I show up today, they're not going to walk up to me and be like, so who do you think is going to be the backup tackle this year? And I'm telling you, 15 years ago, that's what it would have been like, because that's how dominant they were. But as they've tried to make everything more insulated, they've succeeded. It's a bit more insulated. They don't care. They've got higher-end sponsors. They've got higher-end... Their life is good. I say all this to say nobody needs the media. Nobody needs Glenn Clark Radio for sure. Nobody needs 105.7 The Fan or Press Box or, the Baltimore Banner or the Baltimore Sun. They'll play the football games if all of that goes away. They'll play the baseball games. They'll play whatever it is. It'll continue. But there's always been an accepted understanding of an inherent benefit that comes from an amount of reality. Something that isn't sanitized. It was why initially I think people liked the Hard Knocks shows. And then we watched the one this year and said, this sucks. Because it became too sanitized. It took out anything that might be, that they did a Hard Knocks and Deontay Johnson wasn't involved. I understand why the Ravens think that's beneficial to them. But it badly hurts the show. I'll never watch another Hard Knocks, ever.
Unless they do another offseason one.
I certainly won't watch that either.
They should do it again. Do it again.
Yeah, well, I think it's a little too late for that. Because I
Unless they were and they didn't tell anyone. That'd be, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty
sure.
cool. We'd like that.
You might. I will not. I will not be watching these shows because I gave it a shot and there was nothing to see.
Well, you didn't watch the Giants one last year.
You keep going back to that. You keep going back to it. We accept that there is an inherent value to unsanitized. It is a bigger corporate communication conversation. However you feel about Elon Musk, he decided to stop being sanitized some time ago. For a lot of people, they love it. For other people, not that.
Well, he's so successful. It's clearly a working strategy.
I don't know. I have no idea. Still not really sure. All right, it's a conversation. I'm not doing that. I don't know. I don't know what the point of what Colin Morikawa had to say. I don't know what he's saying. I do think it's interesting because it came in the context. Apparently, Rory McIlroy during his press conference defended Colin Morikawa and said, "Look, we don't have a policy that says that you have to speak to reporters after a round." I don't know what their policy is, but as the PGA was weakened a bit by the creation of Live Golf, just from the sheer talent that it took away, you would have thought that perhaps that would be the type of thing that maybe they would say, hey, by the way, did you guys notice that we don't require players? Like, we need to be more accessible. Like, we now have competition, and the product's been weakened a bit. We should probably try to make ourselves a bit more accessible. And someone involved with the PGA, the fact that they didn't sit down and say, hey, we should probably make that mandatory, it's kind of crazy to me. It's kind of crazy. And maybe bringing it up, somebody will visit that and say, is that something we make mandatory? And then it gets into Colin Morikawa's, if there is a point in there, and I didn't think there was, but the closest thing to a point is, how do you measure that against mental health, which is the Naomi Osaka conversation for tennis, which is, do you give, I don't know what you do. I really don't know what you do. For Naomi Osaka, a couple times, she just said, look, if you're going to find me, just find me. If the choice is do media or get fined, I'll just take the fine. And it's not all the time. Like, she does a lot of media. But sometimes she didn't. I don't know. Don't know what the answer is. Somewhere in there is an interesting conversation, but I just don't know what in the world Colin Morikawa was saying. It's so funny that Drew brought up the... What?
I thought he was campaigning to be on full swing or something. He was like,
right,
you guys don't know me as a person, but he was on full swing 2 years ago.
Yeah, I have no idea what any... That was really bizarre, man. Again, part of this is me just not following golf.
He said, only talk to me when I want to be talked to.
Basically. But then he said...
And I'll talk to you.
But then he said, I'm not going to come after you. You should be asking me. It was a word salad beyond words. It sounded like somebody who was like ripe to be defensive, and they whipped themselves up into such a frenzy of being defensive. We know these people. The people that their inclination whenever they hear something is to put up a shield and to be defensive, and they do so to the point where they lose touch of reality. And all that ends up coming out is defensive. But they never actually make a point. That's what it seemed like Colin Morikawa was. Like, defensive. I stand by what I said because I said this, but then I said the exact opposite. And then I said the exact opposite of that. And then I said the exact opposite of that. And what I mean is the exact opposite of that, but also the exact opposite of that. I stand by what I said. What? What just did I just get hit by a truck? What just happened here? So weird. And it was very weird that Drew brought up the live.
It was more like he got hit by a bicycle because he took 2 minutes to say all that.
The live PGA thing. I'm like, is that still a thing? Like, do people still care? Like, that really did seem to die.
I guess the players do. I don't know.
Do they?
The golfers.
This is the problem with, like, I know this from, like, being involved in the lacrosse world. There are things in the lacrosse world that matter, right? But, like, nobody else cares. Now, it's a much smaller group than the people that care about golf. I acknowledge, like, it's a large people that really care about golf. But, like, does anyone outside of the most insulated golf person care at all about live PGA today? I don't know how that's a storyline, man. Like, again, I think it's for the golf people. But for everybody outside, it just sort of seems like that's died. Like, that's gone away. No one cares that live exists. Like, it exists somehow. You couldn't name anything that's ever happened on live, ever. No one with a gun to their head could do that. Maybe unless you were employed by them, maybe. It's weird, man. It's very weird. Very weird. I think more people would be able to tell you something about the video game golf than about live.
Probably true.
And I don't even know that.
Well, yeah, because Tigers involved.
Can you
tell
name
Tigers
it? Like here,
I wouldn't be able to say with any.
Can you name a
confidence
live
this
team?
No.
Can you name a video game golf team?
The Jupiters, right?
And it wasn't the Jupiters. It was Jupiter something. I don't.
The Jupiters.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
the Boston, and then it was Boston.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. I'm realizing I probably can't name them either. All right.
And
I actually think one of the live teams was
so.
called the Crushers, maybe, so I might be able to name a live
Boston
team.
Crushers?
No, I think of the live, not the
Live,
video
live,
game.
okay.
I think the live might have a Crushers.
I don't know if that's true.
God. Anyway, all right, we just did golf. What the hell was that? Would you rather Wednesday? Somebody's getting a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. Would you rather?
There's Aces. There's Cleeks.
In which one?
This is live.
Live.
The Four Aces Golf Club. The Cleeks.
Sure.
There's a Crushers.
What is you said
Bryson,
the Cleeks?
Yeah, CL. Sorry, I know it sounds like a word I probably shouldn't be allowed to say. CLEEKS.
What is that?
I don't know. It looks like a brand almost, or unless they just made up this logo for this. Bryson DeChambeau is on the Crushers.
Okay.
Sergio Garcia is part of the
I don't
Fireballs.
The Fireballs. All right.
You got the High Flyers.
Okay.
Phil's on that one. Phil Mickelson's on
Sure.
the High Flyers. You got the Ironheads.
Why are we doing this? What? No.
Yeah.
I just decided we shouldn't be
We
doing
got
this.
Legion 13.
Sure.
Featuring John Rahm. The Majestics.
Quicker.
But it's spelled and then you get sticks is spelled like a stick you find in the woods.
Great.
Majestics.
Or a golf stick, probably.
Yeah, that's not what I got though.
Yeah. Yeah. That's weird.
The Range Ghosts. Bubba Watson's on them. The
Sure.
Rippers. You got Smash.
Uh-huh.
You got Stinger.
Uh-huh.
You got Torque.
How many teams are in this thing?
And then you got the Wild Cards.
Sure.
Or that's not a team though. You just got wild, I guess floater players. I don't know how. It works.
It's like somebody can't make it one weekend
I guess
because
so. You got the wild
they're
card,
visiting their
wild card.
grandmother. Then you can pull one of the wild cards in to be on your team.
Yeah, but it looks like, and they try to match it up kind of regionally, I guess, because all the Stingers are all South at Louis Oostis, Susan.
Sure, Ricky's Oyster House. That's what Kyle always used to say. I
Louis,
can't believe we actually did talk about golf at
Louis
one point.
Oostenhausen.
I can't believe how much I did that. I was like everybody else. I would pretend when I got to that I had something to say about golf. I don't have anything to say about it. I'm not going to watch.
The Rippers are all Australian.
What's the one on the U.S. Open's on Father's Day. So, my dad will probably come.
Father's Day?
Yeah, my dad will probably come over and maybe for him I'll put it on in the background, but that's the extent of it. Unless I don't think it's going to happen this weekend because he's not there, so I feel like it's unlikely. But unless Tiger Woods, and who knows, maybe he just shows up. Right, he just wakes up on Thursday morning and says, "I'm going to play." Unless Tiger Woods is winning the golf tournament, I'm not turning it on. You're not getting me to.
Golf is never.
Or when my guy Billy Hurley, who I love, that was my dude.
Is related to Bobby and Danny Hurley?
No, Billy Hurley.
If he started acting like Danny,
no, he
Bobby
played
Hurley.
at Navy, and then he became a winner on the PGA Tour.
Well, tell him to start
Great
acting
guy.
like
Love Billy Hurley.
Bobby Hurley.
Love that guy. If he was winning the Masters, he doesn't. He's not going to be playing. If he was winning the Masters, then I would watch. But short of that, nothing.
Yeah, if Drew was playing the Masters, I'd
Zero.
watch.
Maybe.
I'd watch.
Maybe.
If Drew was playing, yeah.
I'd be annoyed by it, really.
I'd be rooting for him.
God. Oh, I'd definitely not be rooting for Drew. There's no chance.
He's on the Masters.
Doesn't.
Imagine if he doesn't finish last.
All right, would you rather Wednesday? Would you rather the Orioles, indeed, they trade Kobe Mayo, Enrique Bradfield, and Chase McDermott, probably plus, to land Sandy Alcantara?
I don't think I can.
Okay.
I don't think I can. I don't know.
You know they don't have any pitchers. You're aware.
They got some.
No, at the moment they have 0.
No, they've got Felix Bautista's pitcher.
Oh, I mean starting pitchers.
Oh, starting pitchers.
Yes.
They got Dean Kramer. I like Dean Kramer. I know you don't like Dean.
It's not. I don't like Dean. It's that I know exactly what Dean is. Like him, plenty. If he's your 5th starter on a rotation of 5, you can survive.
I like Dean Kramer. Brandon Young's gonna get called up. I'm excited about him.
Then that's gonna solve things. Yeah. Okay.
You really need more than 2. This is baseball.
First of all, you don't even have 2.
This is baseball.
You don't have 2. You don't have 1.
I just named 2.
Yo, you named 2 guys that are legally pitchers.
Charlie Morton's going to keep pitching, whether
Oh, he's definitely going to keep pitching. There's no question
like
about that. He's
Kyle
gonna keep
Gibson's
pitching.
coming.
Christ.
I'm not giving up Kobe Mayo and who are the other ones? I'm not
Bradfield
giving
and McDermott.
Yeah, I'm not now.
Oh, you're not getting this is the price of doing. This is the thing. This thing I brought up earlier.
Like, the good news is we don't have to worry about it. They're not doing it.
Well, we'll find out. In your scenario, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
My inclination is to not do it. My inclination is to say, no, you can't pay that for anybody. But this is the way it works. Like, I can't talk out of both sides of my mouth and continue to be the guy that, criticizes them for not addressing pitching and then defends them for not addressing pitching. I can't be that guy. You have to pay a tax for what you're not doing pitching-wise. That's the way it works.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what Zach, because Zach still had another comment or earlier on, but they were willing to go $45 a year for Burnes here, and they didn't put it anywhere else. Like
that's the problem. Inherently, it's the problem. You can keep trying to say we know what the value is. Well, one, you paid Charlie Morton $15 million, not I.
Probably gonna sign Lance Lynn, so we got that going.
Lance Lynn says he's retired.
Oh, he is?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
He says
Bob Nightingale said he wanted Lance Lynn, so.
He went on his wife's podcast and said he was done. But I don't know. Maybe.
$45 a year, though.
Come on. Right. Yeah, take that Corbin Burnes money. I mean, I just don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. Sorry, what was I doing? Oh, Would You Rather Wednesday. I don't want to pay that, I assure you. Everybody is already penciling Enrique Bradfield as your center fielder next year because we're assuming that Cedric Mullins is gone. First of all, I don't even like doing that, right? This thing where everybody just has to be gone. We just have to prove how smart we are. Like, well, you can't pay Cedric Mullins extraordinary money. One, I don't know what Cedric Mullins' market is. I don't. And why not? This is where we want to prove how smart we are. Well, he's in his 30s. He can't. And he gets hurt. Like, what is the alternative? Is Enrique Bradfield definitively going to be better than Cedric Mullins? Certainly from a speed standpoint, he seems like he's going to be better than most everybody. But we do this so breathlessly. Well, you can't trade Enrique Bradfield. He's going to be your center fielder. Why? Why couldn't you sign a center fielder if you're going to move on from Cedric Mullins?
Yeah, well, you already have on your team, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Why wouldn't it be Colton Cowser? If Colton Cowser is as good as everybody says he is, why wouldn't it be Colton Cowser?
Laureano.
Yeah, maybe not that. Maybe not. I'm not trying to trash Enrique Bradfield. I really like Enrique Bradfield. I think he's part of it. I can't do this. And
it's the proven commodity thing, like
it's just when we keep doing both things. We keep grilling the Orioles about what they don't do, and then also say, but you can't do this. So I guess that's my way of saying I would do it, but I don't want to. I'm not happy about it. But they got to pay. At some point, you have to pay a tax for all the pitching you haven't done. Number 2, would you rather the Ravens go edge in round 1 and don't address secondary until round 5, or go secondary round 1 and don't address edge until round 5?
Yes, secondary round 1. We talked about yesterday. I don't trust their edge evaluations and the ability to develop these guys either. So I'm gonna 100%. I will go secondary in round 1, hoping it's gonna be Starks or Manwari. They've
developed the Dafeoe like they have.
Okay, it's 5 years. Like
they have.
I'm not. I don't want another Owe. The guy that said Dafeoe is my favorite player. I don't want them to draft that guy at all.
Who was that?
Michael Williams said that. Mike Hell, the Georgia edge.
What's the relationship? Are they from the same?
Well, I don't know. Somebody asked him a question while they're at the combine, and he was
did they
he
just
was like,
ask a specific Georgia? Was it like a Baltimore
I think
person
so.
who
I
just
think
said,
so.
"Hey, Raven"? Like this is always awkward whenever we do these draft things. I used to do this all the time.
Well, if he was lying, maybe.
Do you have a
I still
Ravens?
don't
Do you have a Ravens
like the,
connection? Because I'm writing in Baltimore, and I could really use a Ravens connection.
Is
and
that,
then
is
you
that
just,
as blatant as the?
it's more or less what we're doing here. Like I used to bring 50 of these guys on every year. I don't go as deep with it. The Ravens were picking earlier. Maybe we'd still do that. I don't go as deep with it because the Orioles are good. Like that is part of what's happened. Like at the time when the Orioles were
they good?
Yeah, when the Orioles were awful,
They're not
like
pitching,
we needed anything, so we would just bring on every draft prospect there was, all of them, every single one, and it was eventually get to that. So I just read through your bio and I see nothing at all that would connect you to the Baltimore Ravens. You got something for me?
He's like, well, I went to Maryland once.
You would find like if let's say it was Michael Williams. Well, Todd Monken was on the other side of the ball, but like, what was it like going up against Todd Monken every day? And you would get the most generic response back, but at least it was something that connected you to the local team. You would just be looking for things like that. Roquan Smith. I would imagine Roquan Smith's the guy that you looked up to being a Georgia guy, right? And like, did you ever meet him at some point? You would just try to pull anything out like that out. And essentially, when you go to the combine and there's a handful of local prospects, and you get John Harbaugh, you get Eric DaCosta, and you're there for 5 days. You got to justify that you're there. So, hey, you there, football man, Baltimore.
Well, he's he's got a similar profile anyway, where it's like, oh, he's a good athlete, but the production wasn't there, similar to Odafe at Penn State. I don't want one of those guys again.
Oh, so you're just biting Ken Zales' style now. You're just whatever Ken says you're going to say.
Is that what Ken said? I mean, that's
more or less.
I mean, I feel that way. I felt that way. I feel.
All right.
For a long time.
Number 3. I would only say that I do still think the secondary is the bigger immediate need, so that's probably why I would answer that. But I don't feel the way that you do about the developing.
I feel that way about it. I also
I
feel like they've proven over the last 3 seasons now.
I go almost the exact opposite way. It's like you need to keep swinging at edge. You have to find.
Well, I feel the complete opposite because over the last 3 years they've proven that they can generate a pass rush out of thin air almost. Like, you're going to find another Kyle Van Noy. Yeah. And I mean, I agree that maybe that's not probably that you shouldn't keep saying, oh, we're going to find Kyle Van Noy.
They tried with a lot. They tried with other guys too. Clowney, it worked out. Jason Pierre-Paul, not so much.
And after watching Brandon Stevens for 3 years, I'm ready to have
it wasn't. Who was the other guy? Who's the Giants guy? It wasn't Pierre-Paul. Who did they bring in?
Justin Houston.
Justin Houston they brought in.
He was good for.
But Pierre-Paul was here for a minute too,
yeah,
right?
He was.
Yeah,
I think was that the same year that was.
It might have been the same year.
Yeah, where he came in the second half.
God, these things feel like fever dreams. Like when someone reminds me for a second that Des Bryant was a Raven.
Can't wait to see who it is this year.
Yeah, something like that. And then number 3, would you?
Smith still unsigned, right?
I don't know.
Is he a guy that?
Would you rather you win a radio contest? You get to go you get to go to Augusta, all 4 rounds, the whole deal, or did you hear the story of Evan? Evan is a young man from Arizona. Evan was in London. Evan got on a boat that he thought was a tourist trip. Like he just thought he was going to do some sightseeing.
Okay, this is a different. Okay, got it.
Evan found out.
I was thinking of the video of the kid in Florida the other week where the guy jumped on his boat and started yelling at him.
I don't know anything about that.
You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that one.
Ridiculous.
Evan just thought he was going to go do some. He's spending 6 weeks in London as part of his schooling.
Okay, so he's studying abroad.
Arizona
Evan is
Arizona Evan. Tempe Evan. He lives in Tempe.
Okay.
He gets on this boat. He looks around and he said, "Huh, this is weird. All the people on this boat appear to be soccer fans of the same team. Strange. Am I on the right boat?" He's sort of by himself. Some people approach him. As it turns out, he's on a party boat.
Okay.
For fans of a 5th-level soccer club.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say, I was like, if it's Liverpool, then no, I don't want to do that.
South End. And they adopt him. They basically just say, "You're one of us now."
Sweet.
They take him. They were taking the boat to a game.
That's pretty cool.
They take him with them, get him a ticket. They start chanting at this match. Apparently, they're known as the Shrimpers, the fans of this team, which, by the way, tremendous. They start singing, "Evan is a Shrimper, Evan is a Shrimper." The team finds out about it, invites him to the next game, and says, "You can come down." Now, they're terrible. They're 5th level. But
still good.
He's the guy now. Like, he's beloved. So would you rather be Evan, or would you rather get to go to all the rounds of the Masters?
I don't know. Neither of these sounds. They both sound like a hassle almost.
Oh, I disagree
I
wholeheartedly.
have to go out of my way to go to England.
No, everything's free. It's all taken care of.
Yeah, but I still have to go to England.
You think that's a burden? It's a free trip to Europe? Good Lord. Cancel Griffin's bonus this year, John. It's a burden to him. Oh, a free trip? No, that's just too much.
I don't know. Neither sounds particularly better or worse than the other. I gotta be honest.
I have a buddy who worked for. Answer the effing question.
I guess the golf thing, just because the Masters is still, like I don't have any connection to the
be,
Masters. I also have no connection to European soccer.
Doesn't matter. That's joy. You get to go hang out with a bunch of hooligans. Drinking and watching football, and they love you and they're singing about you. Jesus Christ, how is this even a choice? Take that 10 times out of 10. That sounds wonderful.
Is sports betting legal in England?
Yes, I assume so.
Well, because I know I can bet on the Masters at least.
Oh my God, what is not on site because you can't have your phone.
Oh, all right, fine. I'll do the England thing then.
No, I don't need to talk you into it.
Bet on South End.
I had a friend who worked for a very popular podcast, and apparently a group of their listeners would always try to do these nice things for the people on the podcast. One of them was a trip to the Masters for one of the hosts.
Wow.
The Mike O'Mara show. Our buddy Josh Soroka works for them now. And one of them was for one of the producers of the show. They got him a trip to Japan because he's obsessed with anime or something like that. So they're here's a trip to Japan. And I guess this guy is very socially awkward and never really wanted to go to Japan, but didn't know how to say thank you, but no thank you. He came up with some I take this medicine and I didn't know how to get it on the plane, so I just couldn't go or something like that.
Makes sense.
You couldn't. There's not paperwork that you can't fill out that could get you. We're gonna deny people the right to have needed medicine. That's an actual way that things work. You just have to go through a process in order to do it.
Leaving the country is tough.
Yeah, you got to actually want to go.
Oh,
is the problem.
I just remembered. I do have a medicine too.
Oh, not going to be able to go to Europe. That's really tough. Really tough.
And I just don't like golf, so yeah, I don't think I can do either.
We come back in. We'll get a tidbit.
You give it to the next caller.
Sure, you got it. Come back in, get a tidbit, and get to it to wrap things up. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farms stores, or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue and wind down on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Get your responses in at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter or Blue Sky or Facebook. And you can win a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill just for participating in Would You Rather Wednesday. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by CountySports.zone. CountySports.zone is where you go to find everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland. Scores, schedules, rankings, all of those things. Find them. CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com.
Before the night went completely to hell, Cedric Mullins did drive in a couple of runs.
Did do that,
and he brought his RBI total on the season to 14, or was it over? Or is he at 50? I don't know. He's got at least 14 RBIs now. He becomes the 15th Oriole with 14 RBIs over his first 11 games of the season. He becomes the 15th Oriole, 14 RBIs in the first 11 games of the season. I mean, I feel like he could name all 15 of them, but, like, can you name how many guys did it since 2000? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 have done it, so 9, and not including Mullins. 9 have done it since 2000. Can you name the last 9 Orioles?
Manny Machado.
No, not Manny.
Chris Davis.
No, yes, Chris Davis, and during 2013, he had 19 RBI through the first.
Seems good.
First few games of the season.
Adam Jones.
Adam Jones not on this list.
Since 2000, you say?
Yes. I mean, we can do all of them as well if you'd like.
Let's try Gunnar Henderson.
Nope.
Adley Rutschman.
Nope.
I had the crazy thought of naming the good players. And as it turns out...
What about guys with, I don't know, good starts, I guess.
Brian Roberts.
Brian Roberts is on this list. Not twice. Yeah, just the one time in the 2005.
Miguel Tejada.
Same season, also 2005. Tejada and Roberts both had 14 runs driven into the first 11 games.
When they brought back Rafael Palmeiro.
Not Rafa.
Everyone called him Rafa.
I did, yeah.
Nobody did that.
I did.
Rafi was his nickname.
Rafa, yeah.
No, definitely not that. Speaking of which, how'd Novak Djokovic do? I might have had a little money on that tennis match today. That could be, and he lost the first set. Could be bad news.
Where are they today?
Monte Carlo.
Ah, of course.
I don't like this. Let's see. Let's see. Hang on a second. Your thing not all that important. This is much more. Oh no. Oh no.
He lost.
He lost in straight sets.
Wow.
Had a good bit on.
How much of was the line close? Like, did you live bet him? Is that what happened?
I did live bet him.
Okay.
I live bet him because he fell behind.
Got it.
And I said,
and that's fair, I guess.
I said, come on, man. He's not losing to Alejandro Tabillo.
Who the heck?
Yep.
He lost to Alejandro.
Not great.
Tabillo,
whatever his name. I don't even know. Yeah, not great. But I mean, look, I said before, I think it's kind of over for Novak, but he actually played really well in America. So, anyway, sorry. God, Lord, what are we doing? Santander.
No.
Scope.
Tiafoe just lost too.
Yeah, well, that's not all that surprising. Scope.
Surprising to me because I thought he was.
Can we just play the game?
Scope.
Hardy.
No.
Mancini. Wieters. What is this list?
Guys with 14 RBI through the first 11 games
I understand, but who are these people?
Baseball players.
Who are these people?
That played for the Orioles.
Trumbo. Jesus. Mountcastle.
Yes. Remember he had 9 RBIs in a game 2 years ago?
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, 2 years ago in 2023.
Couldn't have told you it was when it was during the year, even if I could
Mountcastle
have.
drove in 18 runs.
I'm still missing 5 guys from this list.
Yeah, you are.
What is this? Beckham the year he was good.
No.
God damn.
Davis,
Ramon Hernandez.
Kevin Hernandez in 2007.
I was just throwing random names at the.
There were 2 guys on the 2000 Orioles. One I don't know if you're going to be able to get, but when you definitely should.
It sounds like Tony Batista.
No.
2000 Orioles. Cal Ripken.
No, not Cal Ripken.
Will Clark.
Cal on this list at all?
Well, he only played through 2001, so it would be very difficult. Albert Bell.
Yeah, but I have the list of everyone. Not Albert Bell.
Brady.
Cal is not on this list. That's crazy. No, not Brady.
Delino DeShields.
No.
He actually had, I want to say he was Orioles MVP one year. 2000.
No.
Mora.
No.
Larry Bigby.
No.
Jay Gibbons.
No.
Jack Cust.
No. This was his second season. He spent 2 seasons in this was his second and final season in Baltimore, and he only spent half the year with them.
Well, then, so it didn't happen in April. It just was when.
No, he did.
Oh, then he.
The first 11 games of a season.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he was traded later in the year in 2000.
Traded later in the year in 2000. Was it Bordick?
Bordick is one of them, but not. I mean, that's not the one I was thinking of. But yes, Bordick is part of the list.
Remember, they traded Bordick, got Mora, and then got Bordick back at the end of the year.
Oh, nice. That's how you're supposed to do it.
Charles Johnson.
Charles Johnson. Yep, UFC fighter Charles Johnson. That's
catcher. He actually was a Marlins legend.
He's a Marlins legend.
Yeah, legendary Marlin. Not quite as much as an Oriole. But he was still decent as an Oriole.
2009, and I think that's all the guys from our post 2000s.
I've got 7. I appear to have 2 missing.
You said Davis. You said Mountie. You said
Davis,
Bordick.
Mountcastle, Bordick, Hernandez, Tejada, Roberts, and Johnson.
Yeah. We just need one more. Oh, because you're including Mullins, maybe.
No, you said there were 10, including Mullins.
Either way, you're I mean, we
so something's wrong
good.
here.
You're good.
I've got
1,
7 on
2,
my
3,
list.
4.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7.
2009.
8.
2009.
So there's only 9, including Mullins.
Okay, so you lied.
No, I made a mistake. Remember we're talking about it? I made a mistake.
Yeah, got it. Did I say Markakis?
No, you did not.
Luke Scott?
Nick Markakis.
No, Nick Markakis.
In 2009.
Very good.
16 runs,
How about
16 RBI. The other guys, Brooks did it in
Lord.
1966.
That was a whole thing.
Gus Triandos did it. Lee May did it. As
legendary The
Jim
Wire
Gentile.
actor. Gus. No, he wasn't an actor, but it was the subject of an episode of The Wire.
And Jim Traber.
This sorry-looking mother effer. All right, very good.
And then I was gonna do.
Nope, we're not doing anything
Russell
else.
Westbrook.
It's 12:22.
Can you name all the coaches? Russell Westbrook has ended.
We got to wrap. Remember the thing I said about maybe we do shorter shows?
John in Little Rock said he doesn't want that.
He doesn't want what?
Shortening the show.
I'm sorry, John. I want better. I want to do better. That's what I want to do. This is what's coming up.
I'll tell you what's coming up. Right?
Nailed it. We can't lose this.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up tonight. Totally Tubular. Actually, coming up this afternoon, 3:40 for the finale between the Orioles and the Diamondbacks. Dean Kramer and Brandon Pfaadt. That's the pitching matchup, 3:40 on Masson 2. Tonight at Notre Dame Prep, the Maryland women are playing Virginia at 6 o'clock. You can watch it at CorriganSportsNetwork.com. Stevenson at home tonight against Hood, 7 o'clock, GoMaxSports.tv. Salisbury's on the road at Mary Washington at 4. Maryland baseball on the road at Delaware at 5 on Flow Sports. Tonight at 8 on TBS, AEW Dynamite live from UMBC, from Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. Rest of the baseball today, Dodgers Nationals, 4:05 on Masson. MLB Network, Rangers Cubs, 2:20. Phillies Braves, 7:15. MLB TV, Cardinals Pirates at 12:35. Monumental for Sixers Wizards at 7. ESPN Lakers Mavs at 7:30. Nuggets Kings at 10. TNT and True TV for Flyers Rangers at 7:30. Blues Oilers at 10. Paramount Plus Champions League, Barcelona and Dortmund at 3 o'clock.
Barcelona.
Sure. Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa at 3. Fox Sports. Yeah, nobody cares about the CONCACAF Champions League, so I'll just move on from that. Non-sports.
Why does no one care about CONCACAF?
No one cares. Non-sports. Non-sports.
Abbott Elementary Survivor. We got those tonight. Those are the two big ones, obviously. The studio new episode of that on Apple Television. This one may be a book clubber. It's better than the one we were talking about yesterday on Netflix. It's called Bad Influence: The Dark Side of Kidfluencing. So we go into the shadowy world of child influencers and there's disturbing allegations of abuse around this one internet child celebrity. Her name was Piper Raquel, and her manager Tiffany Smith, and how kind of creepy she was towards all these kidfluencers. So that's on Netflix.
If you say so.
Sounds right up your alley.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it does sound like something I would watch.
Gene Smart will be on Kimmel alongside Melanie Linsky.
They're promoting the Masters.
Really?
Yes.
Them.
Yeah, watch the Masters.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Gene Smart in particular, very excited about the Masters.
Right.
Yeah.
Melanie Linsky's on Yellow Jackets, by the way, for anyone that was wondering.
Gene Smart's on Hack. I know Hacks. I know that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I didn't.
Okay. All right. Move on. Move on.
For you, Cheryl Lee Ralph will be on Stephen Colbert.
Do you know where she is from?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. From Abbott.
Yes.
And then probably among other things, Paul W. Downs as well.
I don't know who that is.
Apparently he's on Hacks.
Oh. Well, is that
Paul Downs?
Paul W. Downs. Who's he on Hacks?
And Rami Malek will be on Fallon, and then a big one on Seth Meyers. Adam Levine.
Oh, he
again.
plays the manager on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seth Meyers is going to have Adam Levine as he continues to make the rounds, along with Tim Robinson.
They're talking about the Big East. Yes, very excited about the Big East. Just want people to support and honor the Big
basketball?
East. Yeah. Well, in general, it's a
that's really
conference.
the only thing they have, right?
Baseball. They have a lacrosse league as well. Yeah. So they just want
Who are
people
the
to know.
lacrosse teams in the
St.
Big East?
John's, Villanova, Marquette, they all play lacrosse. Providence plays lacrosse. I think
Tim Robinson's passionate about this.
Yes. Oh, cares deeply about it.
I wish he would do that. I wish that should be the bit that he
very
does.
excited. That would be great if we had more of that.
Tim, what do you do? Tim, what's going on?
Yeah, right. All right.
You see what's going on in the Big East and lacrosse?
Yeah,
this spring?
right. You guys fired up about Villanova lacrosse, boys? Thanks today to Corbin Burnes. Thanks also to Will Carroll and Drew. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher?
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program, Chuck Smith's son.
Yes.
Chuck Smith the fourth. Yes, Chuck Smith, the outside linebackers coach for the Ravens. His son, Chuck the fourth, is an edge rusher at Villanova and is part of this year's draft class. Don't know if he's going to get drafted or not, but certainly someone that feels like maybe could end up in Baltimore one way or the other. It would seem to make some sense. So we will talk to him.
UFC 314 this weekend, so we'll have
Stuff
to
and things.
do that as well.
Stuff and things.
Probably the whole second hour, is that what we said?
Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners,
the first
including
hour,
Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Baltimore's Classic 5 Golf Courses, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go Birds. Go Maryland women. Go Maryland baseball. Go anybody else. Duke sucks.